Hello, everyone, and welcome to another epic episode of Mythic Banter. I'm here with Akalon. We are recording this one a little bit early, and guess what? Once again, as always, it's my fault because there's an update to Monster Hunter, and I'm going to be gaming my heart away tomorrow, so it is what it is. Yep. We got plenty of news for you guys. I'm sure that we're going to be talking a whole lot about Nintendo Switch 2.
Yep.
But there's a wide variety of other topics that we want to tackle. But having said that, besides Switch 2, it's actually been a somewhat chill week. How are you doing, Akalon?
I'm doing very well, dude. Thank you very much for asking. Just a bit tired. My days have become addictive to a specific game that we'll talk about a bit later.
Oh, yeah.
So I again was up until like 4 o'clock playing this game, and it was one of those where I was like, I just quickly want to do something, and then about 6 hours later I'm like, wait, shit, I probably have to go to bed.
that was like me earlier this week when I was like, oh, let me just do a couple of touch-ups on this mini, and then suddenly it was 2 a.m. and I was like, I have to get up in 5 hours to take my kids to school. This was not a good idea. But that mini looks hella good though, dude.
I've seen the minis. They look really, really good. But we do have a stacked show. You know, there's not a lot of news, but there are happenings in the gaming world.
I would like to give a special shout out to Akalon here, guys, because listen, it was literally 8:30 in the morning. I'm in the supermarket buying my lunch, and I'm like, hey, Akalon, I forgot. I can't record tomorrow.
Usually he'll let me know like a day before, but this is just like, oh, by the way, can we quickly do a 3-hour podcast now?
Let's bang 1 hour real quick. Let's do a quickie.
let's just get this quickly over and done with. You know, I literally woke up, saw the message, and I was like, just give me time. I'll just quickly go shower, and then we can do this. So, yeah. I'm still a little waking up, because usually I'll wake up and I'll spend like 2 hours looking for news and chilling out just to wake up fully. But we didn't have a time. We didn't have the time for that.
It's crash course day today. Yeah, let's get started.
Okay, before we can get going, we have to talk about the poll, Rurikon. The poll.
Oh, right, I forgot about the poll. What was even the poll this week?
The poll was, do you have any faith that Ubisoft can turn things around? And there was 396 votes on that, so thank you to everyone that voted. We have 7% of people coping and saying, yeah, absolutely. I think Ubisoft is just going for it now. Then we have 7% of people say, I don't care, just show me the results. But an overwhelming 86% of people said, no. Not happening, bro. Ubisoft is not turning this shit around.
Strangely enough, I think they actually are being... I've heard some rumblings. I haven't checked too deeply, but it seems they are being somewhat successful in their literal scam where they're moving all of their stuff to a subsidiary with Tencent and all of that stuff.
No. They're going to be successful in that. The question, I think, more, and I think most of the 86% had the same sort of view from my question. Sadly, there's like a limit on how long you can make a poll question. So I couldn't really offer qualification to it. But I think a lot of people read it the same way that I hope they would, which is actually in the long run, right? So, I mean, it's super exciting now. Oh, we have this new entity, and they're going to make the new games, but it's the same people in charge of the new entity that ruined the original entity. So why would you think that it's going to be better the second time around?
It's so funny because every time we try to describe the situation, it all boils down to the description that I asked about ChatGPT last week, which is like the whole thing with those games that launch on Steam and then suck, and then developers go, okay, so now we're going to call it Jack's Bombs REEX Remix Alpha whatever, and this will be the bomb, guys. Trust me, this will be
this is the one.
It's the same people, same video game, very little changes.
Yeah, I mean, And we have this as part of the conversation here as well, but we could probably just very quickly, because it's not that big of a thing. Ubisoft employees are getting screwed over in this, for those of you that might care. Even the good ones. So here the problem is, this is a blanket screw over. Everyone's getting screwed over. Because for those of you who don't know how the gaming industry...
There's something very important. Not everybody is getting screwed over. The people on the higher ups of Ubisoft, they're not getting screwed over.
Yeah,
they're screwing
obviously.
everybody else over. Like,
my apologies, yes.
When somebody's getting railed from
fine.
behind... Yeah, when somebody's getting railed from behind, there's an entity that is getting railed, which is the majority of Ubisoft employees, and then there's another entity that is doing the railing, which is the people above them.
Yes, and
that's how it works.
The people below, so the developer entity, is getting railed hard. The bottoms, effectively. Now, it should be mentioned, most of them are mega woke, so they probably enjoy being bottoms, but that doesn't change the fact that is happening right now. And here's why. So for those of you that don't quite know how the gaming industry works, there is very little difference between salaries for AA developers, AAA developers, or even in some cases bigger indie developers. Obviously, when you're talking about like the super small indie, those salaries will be very tiny, because most of those are passion projects with the hope of exploding upwards, right? But when you're talking about established indie developers, the salaries are usually exactly the same. Your salary is really only determined by how long you've been in the industry. So you're going to make more than someone that just came in. The way AAA convinces developers to work for them and not go work at AA studios is stock options. We give you shares. Those shares theoretically grow over time, and you become rich as a result of it. The developers that are currently working at Ubisoft have seen the value of their shares nosedive almost 95%, like over the last decade, right? So those shares have come down hard. And now, to make matters worse, right, at the moment that they're hoping maybe we can turn this ship around, Ubisoft goes, we know what we'll do. We'll make a new entity. We'll take all of the actual valuable IPs and we'll move that out of Ubisoft so that's no longer attached to this share price. And all of these other developers are going, wait, what the hell just happened? Like, half my business was just sold out under me.
So it's like I rail on these two companies a lot, which is Ubisoft and Bungie.
Yeah.
And Bungie historically has made a very similar move a while back when they did all those firings and stuff, when they were just like firing people left and right because they can.
Yeah.
What they did at one point was they fired a bunch of people one day before they were due to receive like a bunch of their stock profits. It was literally one day before.
Wow.
So they calculated it down to the day where they wanted to make sure they eked out every little bit of motivation from those people, and then they were just like, and by the way,
oh man,
turn around, I got something for you. Bend over.
Yeah, you don't even.
Like,
the sad part there is normally, if you're in the bent over position, you might hear the cap of the lube popping. You might hear some ruffling. There's no
Bro
loop
pulled
here.
out some sandpaper.
Yeah, there's no loop here, so you don't even have an idea of what's coming.
You heard duct tape sounds, and you're like, what is that?
Yeah, what are you doing?
So, and it's like, this is messed up, by the way. I feel for those devs that got completely screwed over. But fundamentally, this is one of the reasons why I say that these things are never going to change, while everybody's attitude is like, think of the devs. And I'm like, yes, we should think of the devs, but also remember that we can do everything we possibly ever can for the devs. If we don't punish the people up top, it means fuck all.
Yeah.
It literally means fuck all until these people are held responsible for the actions that they have caused that have made these companies become worse and worse and worse and inevitably led to the firing of these developers. So we need to concentrate a lot more power in getting more punishment to the people at the top, which never, ever I've never seen it happen. Not even once.
No.
Not even once. It's impressive.
I think
like with Ubisoft, they're just like, oh yeah, we're moving our most valuable IPs over here now.
Yep.
And we're getting a bunch of money from Tencent, and all of you guys at the bottom,
you're getting screwed.
Get bent. Yeah. Yeah, just get bent.
Which is
fucked up.
I just had an insider reach out to me literally last night before I was going to bed. It's someone that I've worked with before, and their information has panned out up until now. But again, massive grain of salt. This is I've not done any insight into this yet.
Take it as a rumor.
Yeah, it's basically just a rumor. But apparently, not only did Ubisoft move their most expensive and most prosperous IPs out of Ubisoft, but it's now basically confirmed that they're selling off most of their other IPs. So Settlers Online has just been sold. The news will break in the next few days that Settlers Online is being sold, probably along with the entire Settlers sort of IP to someone else.
Probably a bunch of that stuff's going to get picked up by THQ Nordic, who seems to kind of just like pick up a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would be my expectation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against that, but again...
Isn't Bracer still around?
Yeah, but they're struggling because they ended up spending billions on just acquiring half of the gaming industry, and then realized, wait, but what does game studios actually do? And they realized, wait, but maybe they should be making games because this doesn't seem to make any money just owning them. And they went bankrupt almost because they realized, oh, the gaming industries don't just print money. These studios make video games and that makes money. But there's no video games. What's going on?
Saudi Arabia gave him the old rug pull real quick. Too special. And Embracer Group's like, oh, this is bad. I'm in danger.
I'm in danger. But the whole Ubisoft thing is, I think, just, it's mega disgusting. And for people who say, think about the devs, I don't know how does that morality function? So first and foremost, it is not my job or incumbent upon me to think about someone who has a job that doesn't belong in that job, right? So if you have super bad developers that clearly can't make video games, why should I care that they lose their jobs? That's point number one. Point number two is, by supporting these companies because you want to support the devs, you're not supporting the devs. You're supporting the executives.
The guys above.
Yeah, you're allowing them to continue their nonsense. So you're effectively saying, hey, you know what? We have to keep supporting the devil because all these other people that the devil keeps screwing over would suffer if we don't. And I say, well, how about you just, yes, in the short term, there might be some suffering for the people being screwed over, but eventually the executives get screwed over, and then the people are fine, right? The people can go do other things.
It's just, because most of us have basic empathy, it's just never a good thing to see somebody lose their job, because you imagine, oh shit, what if all of a sudden I lost my means of income? Fuck.
But but I would say...
The thing is also, though, this happens all over the world, right?
People
lose their jobs all the fucking time.
But I would say, I would call that short-sighted empathy, right? It's a conversation that I've been having on stream for a long time. It's the same reason I'm not in favor of social security programs, where the government gives people money, because I don't think it actually helps. I think you're doing a thing to make yourself feel better while ruining a bunch of people's lives as a result of your empathy. I think it's short-sighted. You have to think about empathy as a genuine, how do I make people's lives actually better, right? So is supporting Ubisoft because you don't want the 18,000 developers to lose their jobs really worth it, when first and foremost, those 18,000 developers, as you have just seen, can get screwed over in spite of your support, by the way. They will still get screwed over because guess what? When you give Ubisoft that $60, that's not going to the developers. That's going to Eves, right? So, yeah.
So number one is like, listen, I am not qualified to argue on the topic of social security, and I don't want to bring that up in relation to Ubisoft anyway, but it's like, the way that I look at it is I empathize with developers that get fired, period. I do. Even if they're not amazing developers, because I will empathize with anyone that is losing their jobs. I think that fucking sucks. Now, the other thing is I've never gone down the route of like, well, I have to buy this video game to support the developers, unless it's like an indie dev. If it's an indie dev, then I'm like, yeah, or maybe even a AA dev. Like, I would definitely say, you guys should definitely buy Remnant 2 because it's an amazing game. And they're like, an indie dev, and they're not really indie. They're like AA, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it's like, it's definitely a game that we would want to keep around. Yes, but when it comes to AAA, I'm not going to tell people, you need to buy Assassin's Creed Shadows. Think of the devs. It's like, no, bro, because all the money that you're spending on there is not really going towards the devs. Let's just be completely realistic.
You should support
and it's
good
the same
games.
Thing, like, all the way since like the World of Warcraft mounts, it's like, listen, the money that you're spending on those World of Warcraft mounts, that shit ain't going to the devs. That shit ain't even going to support the game. Okay, that shit is going straight to some executive's bank account. That's exactly where that's going.
I think the thing is that people sometimes don't seem to realize is extinctions happen all the time, right? Life is about suffering. There's nothing we can do. It will always happen. Now, why is extinction in nature? Why does that happen? Well, it happens for a variety of reasons. Most importantly, the species that went extinct could not adapt to its surroundings. Now, sometimes that's because of human intervention, but there's more species that go extinct that you've never even heard of that has nothing to do with human intervention just because they couldn't hack it, right? I don't think you're doing anyone any favors when a business is clearly sick and should no longer be around, and you're supporting them because some sort of weird misplaced empathy nonsense where you're saying, oh, but think of the developers. And it's like, I am thinking about the developers, but you have to allow nature to run its course. It's a very human thing. We want to interfere, right? We want to be the ones to decide when things die and when things don't. But the proof is there. Ubisoft has to die. Like, there's no reason why this studio should still be around. What have they done? Here's what people don't even know. Most people don't even know because no one covers this. Ubisoft in the last year launched not one, but 2 NFT games. Like, dude, this company, even after everyone knows NFTs is a 100% scam, right?
Absolute scum.
Ubisoft releases 2 NFT games trying to fleece people even more with their scumbag NFT stuff. So when you say to me, oh, but we should support them because the poor developers, my immediate response is no. The good developers will land on their feet. The bad developers will go somewhere else. They'll find another job somewhere, maybe not in the gaming industry, which should be good because they're bad developers in the first place. And are some people going to suffer? Absolutely. Is that sad? Absolutely. But am I supposed to support an absolute parasite of a company just so that doesn't happen? I don't understand that logic.
Like, let's just put it like this. Ubisoft gives French people a bad name. Okay,
French people give French people a bad name.
No,
Ubisoft just confirms it.
You leave the good people of France out of this, all
Dude,
right?
I can say this. One of my good friends,
when I'm in France,
one of my good friends, like literally someone I talk to pretty much daily, is French. She's a French historian, so every single day we discuss ancient history because I love ancient history. So, that's a topic. So I actually don't have anything against the French, but making fun of the French, that is an age-old tradition. We're allowed to do this. It's fine, right? Absolutely fine.
it's just accepted that Akalon is allowed to make fun of the French.
Yes, absolutely. Right? They speak weird. They're weird. It's fine. You're allowed to make fun of the French.
I mean, to be honest, I make fun of Spanish people all the time, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? And most of the time, at least from my perspective, I know there's some English people that might have a different approach to this, but from my perspective, it really is just good, clean fun. Right? It's just fun to pick on the French because they're always a little different and always very extreme in everything that they do. So it's easy to make fun of them. But like, I don't have a real
when they do their
gripe against the
protests.
French. Yeah,
when they do their protest, they don't mess around.
No. They are definitely a very problematic people. But okay, so from the Ubisoft stuff, I think let's shift our attention to what was the first topic of the day. Grummz. Now, Grummz is, I guess you could say, in many ways, the self-appointed leader of the anti-woke crowd. The anti-woke crowd doesn't have a leader, just FYI. But a lot of people sort of identify him, I guess, as the biggest name in it because he is the biggest name in it. And I think the thing that has always given him a little bit more credit is that he comes from the gaming industry, right? And for anyone that wants to pretend like, oh, who gives a shit what Grummz says, he's a failed whatever, he really isn't a failed developer. The man has been in charge of very big IPs and made those IPs super successful. So Grummz isn't necessarily failed. He's had failures, which everyone has had failures in their lives. But I
just for a very quick for people that want to know, Grummz was involved in the development of, I don't know if Diablo 1, but definitely was involved in the development of Diablo 2. He was also involved in the development of World of Warcraft. And he was involved in the development that I know of. I don't know all of the games, but like these are 3 games that I have personally played, which was another game called Firefall. And I was actually a big fan of Firefall. I thought it was a very interesting IP. I even did like an interview with one of their developers at some point at Gamescom. So yeah, it's like when it comes to, I don't know what his level of the involvement was in all these projects, but he's definitely credited on all of these projects. So it's like people can say, "Oh, he actually never did anything." Okay, if he never did anything, then people scammed everyone in those goddamn credits because he's all over them. So it's like, listen, you can have problems with Grummz, and I definitely have problems with a lot of the things that Grummz says.
Yeah,
not everything, but a lot of the things that he says. And it's like, you can have problems, but you should not take away things that people have done. Like, if you don't like me, for instance, that doesn't mean that I don't have, like, a YouTube channel that has, like, I don't know, 5,000 videos or whatever. I still did those goddamn videos, even if you don't like me. So, it would be the same thing that I would say about Grummz. It is what it is. And,
I mean,
you can have... that some people are very visceral about this to the point where it's like, no, you can't say anything good about somebody because I don't like them. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's your prerogative, whatever you want to say. I'm just saying, these are things that this man has done. Whether or not you like what he is doing recently, that is a different subject altogether.
Yeah. I mean, there's been legitimate criticisms of Grummz as well. You know, the fact that his game Ember just sort of never did anything, and it didn't seem like anything was actually happening with Ember. Those, I should say, has now been laid to rest. There is an actual beta out now for backers and subscribers of the game, which was always the promise, by the way. So he's not rug pulling here and only launching it to backers. The promise was always that they would get the beta first. I want to see how good it is before I cast full judgment on that, because I can put out a beta. It won't be a good beta, but I can put it out.
I can put it out. That's where we'll leave that one. No,
yes, exactly.
the thing that I will say is that in the interest of fairness, let's be real. The main reason why he's doing this now is because there's been a lot of pressure on him on account of the fact that he has an unreleased game, and so that is I think even he will admit that is one of the main impetus and drivers of the reason why that this thing is coming out, is so that he can kind of like shove it in people's face and be like, see, my demo is out.
Oh yeah, he didn't miss the mark. The second the demo was out, that's exactly what he tweeted, right? So, obviously that is it. I would be surprised, because I do think one of the reasons it may have taken this long, and this is me just sort of throwing a bone, I genuinely don't know. I haven't played it. I'm not a backer of his game, so I have no idea yet. We're going to have to wait and hear what actual backers have to say before we would even be able to know anything. But I also think there was probably a lot of pressure on him because he's taken this super stance against the fall of the AAA. You can't take that stance and then release a shit game. Like, that wouldn't work. So suddenly, you're in this place where maybe the demo was already ready 6 months ago, but now you're constantly in your own head going, oh man, okay, I have to make sure that this is perfect, because if this isn't perfect, I'm going to get fleeced for this, right? So I do think being an outspoken developer puts extra pressure on you, which is why I've always been of the opinion, if you're a games developer, why are you speaking to the public? Why are you even trying? Why not just do your games development and leave everything else for everything else? It has nothing to do with you, right? But there's been other Grummz news. This is weird because it seems like a lot of this came as a result of illegal action.
Oh, it came all right.
Yeah, it did come. So Grummz, now it should be, I think, first and foremost, it should be made super clear. There are some in the anti-woke crowd that are Christian for Christian values and stand on that as a principle. I am one of those people. There are also some in the anti-woke crowd that are not Christian, that have no interest in any of the Christian values. They just want the woke shit out of the gaming industry. Grummz is part of that crowd. Grummz has never said that he's a Christian or that he cares about gooning or anti-gooning or any of that nonsense. He just wants wokeness out of video games. So then this bombshell drops from Western Kabuki, which is a genuine grifters podcast on the left, because if you look at their trajectory of the type of stuff that they cover, they literally just chase whatever the big trend is at the moment. I've sort of been doing a bit of research on them, and I just noticed, like, over the months how their content just constantly tries to chase the biggest click stuff. You know, like, me and Rurikon have done, what is it now, 39 episodes of the Mythic Banter. This will be episode 39. We have not once had a conversation prior to the episode where we go, wait, bro, but what will get us the most views? So what story do we have to cover, regardless of what we actually care about? But that's the one that gets us the views.
Actually, we have had that conversation. I'm always telling you, listen, what'll get us the most views is clips. We need to segment the podcast.
Oh, yeah, he does do that with me. And then I just go, I don't want to make clips. It's too much work. And then we leave it there. But yeah, that no, conversation we've had.
In terms of topics, no, we don't usually go, oh, is this going to be a popular topic? It's like, oh. Usually we will say, like, oh, is this a topic that the people that watch are going to care about? Like, sometimes we'll go down that road. Like, I'll even have that inner monologue myself. Like, I was thinking, oh, man, there was a lot of PoE 2 nerfs. And then I was thinking to myself, does anybody in our audience really care for us to talk about nerfs that we haven't even experienced in the game yet?
Yeah.
This game? I don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have conversations about what we think is relevant to you guys, right? Because if I were to talk about the stuff that I want to talk about, we'd be sitting here talking about the Congress meeting about some bullshit in the US, right? But that wouldn't be something that any of you would in any way, shape, or form be interested in talking about, right?
I'm sure if Rurikon had his,
if Rurikon was interested in anything, he would just be talking Monster Hunter the whole time. But
specifically
of course,
the Gunlands,
specifically the Gunlands, because he's a massive simp of the Gunlands. But fundamentally, we obviously try to curate our content in such a way that it works for you guys and the stuff that you want to hear. But we've never tried to hunt the big stories. That's why when all the drama with her son and Asmongold was going on, we didn't even cover that because it had nothing to do with gaming. Would it have gotten us massive clicks? Yeah, put her son or Asmongold in a video, and we have the podcast to prove that. When we put Asmongold's face on it, that's 7,000, 8,000 views.
Face on that is like, boom.
Yeah, that's good views immediately right there. But we looked at the story and we both went like, this is nothing to do with gaming. This is like 100% just geopolitical bullshit. Yeah.
Like mega sidetracked.
Yeah. So fundamentally, we've not done that. But the Western Kabuki guys, they just go wherever they think the most clicks will be. So in this was the discovery of a Discord. This is a Discord that appears to have some of its channels at least paywalled, even though the Discord itself is publicly accessible. But in this Discord, then comes out this Discord basically sort of organizes harassment campaigns online. So they tell people where to go and what to do. And it's also a massive farming Discord. So if you want to know something, you want the scoop on someone, you ask it in this Discord. And there seems to be people there that has access to either hacking or databases where you can find information, because they managed to get all of the passwords of Grummz.
And those are usually combo lists. Like you can actually go to Malwarebytes and they will look on the internet for like passwords for old accounts of yours. I know that there's a bunch of my old passwords already spread throughout the internet. There's even like an old address of mine also out in the internet. For whatever reason, somebody saw fit to put like an old address of mine online.
Yeah, I mean, it can be that, but because we don't know if it is just sort of part of a public list somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it appears as if some illegal activity may have occurred, because the actual illegal activity was then that in the Discord, they plainly posted the plain word passwords, which is actually a federal crime. You're not allowed to post in a public space someone's plain word passwords. Like you can't make that.
I didn't know that that's a federal crime.
I don't know either. It wasn't until some of the X accounts picked up on this and then showed the actual law that says you cannot do that, right? So even if you have access to those passwords, you are not allowed to post them online.
Before we go any further, one thing I know absolutely nothing about Western Kabuki. First time I've heard of them was when they started going after Grummz. Yeah. And I just, I barely even followed it. It's just suddenly I started hearing the story that people were talking about that you will introduce. I'll let you introduce that one because it'll be interesting. But like one of the things that I would say is like, regardless of whether or not you like Grummz, whatever the fuck, fucking with people's accounts, that's wrong. I don't give a fuck what side does it. That's just wrong. Okay,
I agree.
I don't care what you can argue like, but my fucking balls. Yeah. It's wrong. Okay. Yeah. Regardless if it's illegal or not, you don't fuck with other people's accounts, especially in an age where we're living increasingly more digitally. Fucking with people's accounts can lead to you stealing money from them or somebody else stealing money from them, somebody getting in touch with someone's relatives over their online presence, which I'm sure that Grummz has gotten quite a bit of that as well, and fucking with somebody's family, doxing people's addresses they don't want out there. I don't care who it is, unless it's a fucking serial killer or something along those lines. You just don't fucking do that. That's the one thing. So,
I agree.
Anyway,
I think, I did the same thing with Fighting Cowboy when we just heard that his accounts have been hacked and there were some rumors that it might have been one of the anti-woke crowd. My first response was, this is not, what the hell are you doing? We can have disagreements ideologically, but we're not hacking each other. This crosses a bloody line. Like, write an angry tweet if you must, but we're not doing that, right? At least not yet. Because the problem is, once you open that door, it's literally just destruction from there on forward, right? Because now we're just destroying each other. Yeah.
It's life ruination. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to get there. This needs to be solved through discourse, not through actual actions of that nature. But okay, so Western Kabuki, and by the way, I don't think many people have heard of them. It's not like their podcast is massive or anything.
Like ours?
Yeah, it's not like our podcast, right? I think they might be bigger, but they've been around for longer. I can't even remember the view counts now of Wasted Kabuki. But anyways, fundamentally, this did put them on the map. You know, they were put on the map as a result of this bombshell scoop. And the bombshell scoop is they managed to get access to some passwords of accounts of the unsavory nature, shall we say. Where it turns out that Grummz, for a period of time in his life, was directing and writing fetish wrestling stuff and putting it out there. Directing, recording.
Wrestling?
Yeah, it's like some fetish kind of thing that he was doing.
Wrestling.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so, right? He was involved in that for a period of time. And then stopped. But this has been years ago at this point already. Wasted Kabuki tried to spin it as he's been leading this massive double life for decades now, just doing corn on the side while, you know, grifting as, an anti-woke Christian or whatever. Remember what I said? Grummz is not a Christian. So Grummz couldn't care less. He probably does watch porn. Probably doesn't even care about porn, probably likes porn to some extent, right? Because Grummz doesn't care about this. I care about it, but that's different, right? That's a whole different discussion. So they now discover this, and it becomes a sort of almost immediate, I guess you could say, dividing factor amongst everyone, because most people on the anti-woke immediately go, the hell is this? I mean, aren't you guys the guys that say sex work is work and porn is absolutely fine? Now this is your bombshell that suddenly discredits everything he said. And the left, on the other hand, forget that sex work is work, and this is the worst thing that anyone possibly could ever have done. Which is just like, well, it's nice to know that principles are still a thing.
So, two things. First of all, I'm very curious. What is your personal take due to your relationship with God? How do you feel about this on a personal level? And then I have another thing that I want to talk about, but I would like to hear that one first.
All right. So personally, I'm very much against porn, purely because I myself was once addicted to it. Right? I know what porn addiction is. I've lived it. So I am very against porn. But I don't hold other people to my standards of morality. I believe that Christianity is a personal thing. It's my relationship with God. If Grummz wants to put that out because he thinks that's fine, I can say I don't agree. I don't think you should be doing that. But I won't go after him or attack him the same way I don't go after OnlyFans models and attack them. I think you're ruining your life, but it's not my life to ruin, right? It's not my life to save. So yeah, I my opinion on it is, it's weird because there is a part of me that do wonder though, if he did that, how principled is he actually? That's the part that definitely is there for me. Is if you were able to do that, can I trust you to be principled in all other things? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I understand. I was mostly curious because, again, I'm not religious. I don't have any of those things going on for me, but I was curious how you would personally feel about it. So it's just interesting to hear. I don't even know if people care that much, but it was just something mostly for me because I was curious. Now, the other thing that I will say is that I think that this situation has exposed blatant hypocrisy on both sides of the culture war, which is the thing that I always talk about, how there's bad actors on both sides of the culture war.
Oh yeah.
So on the left, obviously, we have the people who've always been like sex positive, sex work is fine, blah, 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 blah. No. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, look at this fucking gooner pornographer over here, like cosplaying as a conservative, blah, blah, blah. And just like giving him shit over, stuff that he has done related to sex work, which I think that is blatantly
And
hypocritical.
we should
but
just be
you
clear,
go ahead
Grummz
and
is
do
also
your
not
own
a
thing.
conservative, just FYI. The dude's
Yeah.
not a conservative. He's
Okay,
anti-woke, but
I don't
anyways,
even
yeah.
know, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you get the idea. So
Yeah.
that's one side of it. And then on the other side, we have some people on the right that most definitely went after the likes of Alyssa Mercante whenever she was running around telling everybody how she had done sex work and all of this stuff. And they were like preaching the gospel to her and all of this bullshit and holding her up against all of these things.
Yeah.
And now I guarantee a lot of those people are going like, who cares? It's not a big deal. And it's like, nah, bro. Say it with your chest. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, what the fuck are these positions that you're holding?
yeah.
Because, like, look, I criticized Mercante. On her professional abilities of, you know, some of the shit that she said about video games because I'm qualified to that. I never criticized her over, like, whether or not I think that she's doing porn or whatever. I don't give a crap about it.
In all my coverage of Alyssa Mercante, I've never even brought up the fact that she may have slept with her way to the top or did porn or any of that stuff. Ever.
So it's like I just find it interesting that this situation is going to be exposing quite a lot of people. And if you go down some people's timelines who have probably been furiously going back and deleting a bunch of their tweets, but Wayback Machine exists. So yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to expose a lot of hypocrisy on both sides of the culture war, which is always an interesting thing.
I mean, yes, I think the big issue here is it's always very difficult to go after your friends, right? To call out your friends in an honest manner, right? To say, bro, I'm still your friend, but that wasn't cool, you know? If that is your principle, if your principle is that all people who do sex work is absolutely bad and, you know, should just completely be rejected as a result of that, then you have to be consistent even if it's your friends. I don't think you're benefiting yourself or anyone else if you sort of go with the tide. No, this is my friend, so therefore it doesn't matter. But this isn't my friend, so now I'll just absolutely go nuts on this. That's why I've never brought up Alyssa Mercante's shady past, because I don't think it has anything to do with her shit work as a journalist. Like, just because she could give a good blowjob, clearly that doesn't transfer to the ability to write a good article or do good journalism, right? So I am only focused on what she's shit at that bothers me. If she wants to go back to sucking dick for a living, by all means, right? I'm not going to bother with that because it has no effect on my video games. And I'm sure your client would love to hear your ramblings about the anti-woke gamers while you're sucking his D. I don't care. It's when you write the articles that I start to worry, and so that's what I focus on, right?
Weird stuff. I've heard that he is now going to change his Twitter handle to Cums.
To be fair, though, that would be an epic own if he did do that. Just go, Cums. Let's go. I will never forget one of the greatest moments ever, right? This was at the height of the cancel culture Me Too movement. A girl came out and she started accusing Dave Portnoy. Now, do you know who Dave Portnoy is? He's the dude that does the pizza ranking stuff. He goes all over America and rates pizzas. And he always does like an 8.3 or 8.35. He never gives a solid score. He's the owner of Barstool Betting. So he's like Barstool Sports, sorry. And they do like sports betting and stuff. Dave Portnoy. Anyways, and this girl came out and accused him of taking her home and going to town. Like roughest sex you can imagine. Big story, right? Everyone talking about it. Dave Portnoy, then like a day later, comes out with screenshots where he says to the girl beforehand, I want you to know I like it rough. Very rough. Here are the things I'm going to be doing to you. Are you okay with that? And she's like, I'm absolutely okay with that. Let's go. And he's like, his tweet is literally just like, guys, I like it rough. She said, okay, this is bullshit. And the story dies immediately because everyone's just like, wait, he's not apologizing. He's just like openly admitting he likes it rough and look at that guy over there. And everyone's just gone because, honesty genuinely is the best policy. Just own your past, own your life, and go on from there, So I think Grummz kind of did that, though. He didn't deny that he had all of this, although he's been very focused on the password bit of this, trying to get the FBI involved, looking into
illegal
lawsuits. Yeah. He wants the password, so he's been talking about that quite a bit.
I would say if I was in Grummz's position, I would take my personal security much more seriously, because everybody's just like, oh, it's all fun and memes in the internet. It's like, yeah, it's all fun and memes until some fucking psycho on the internet takes things a little bit too seriously and shows up at his fucking house. Then the memes are going to end like real fucking quick.
Oh, yeah.
Because people seem to forget that there have been swatting instances where there have been fatalities. Okay?
Yeah.
Like straight up, there was a dude who was shot in front of his house like a couple of years ago, whatever the crap, over some Call of Duty mishap or whatever the hell it was, right?
Yeah.
Like these two guys get into it in Call of Duty, one swats the other, guy ends up dead. Like, okay. Like, this is not a fucking laughing matter, because people are like, who cares if somebody has your address? It's like, no, it's actually, you should care, because there's some pretty friggin' crazy sickos out there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might think, well, who cares, if they show up at my house, I've got a gun, I can take care of myself. Well, what happens if the SWAT teams show up at your house? Then your gun makes you very much in danger.
And not to mention, it's like, okay, so you have a gun. What if the guy lobs a grenade through your window? What's your gun gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, there's some unhinged people, right? And
exactly.
It's not just that, especially if you have a family, if you have a wife and kids, that gets even more than
set your house on fire.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I do think people should.
Ain't that hard to do? So
yeah, people should be careful with this kind of stuff. And if someone does break the law, and if they did break the law, I do think charges should be brought. Because I do think it's about time that the internet learn actions have consequences. If you do things, you're going to be in trouble. But still related to the Grummz issue, no longer porn though, although some people do use this next piece of software to look at their porn. OperaGX got in on the culture war. Now you might be saying to yourself, wait, isn't OperaGX just like a browser? Why would they care about the culture war? That's the correct question to ask, because no one understands why OperaGX thought this was a good idea. OperaGX,
Why wouldn't you understand why they thought this was a good idea? The OperaGX account has been memeing on so many different things that it doesn't surprise me. When they made that thing, I was like, oh, I'm not surprised at all. They meme on everything.
The thing is,
surprise me.
Up until now, their memes have been very gamer forward, very much sort of almost victimless in a way, right? So they go after entities rather than individuals for the most part. Here was the first time that, and they may not have looked at it this way, right? So from their perspective, they might just have thought, oh, this is funny. But from everyone else's perspective, this is an endorsement of the woke crowd and a condemnation of the anti-woke crowd. So in the eyes of the anti-woke, OperaGX has just chosen sides. They have said, we are woke, we are for DI and in all the bullshit that comes with that. We hate the anti-woke. That's why we're working on a feature specifically to remove Grummz from the internet. And it's sort of like, well, that's dangerous. And I'm always reminded of the Michael Jordan quote. When the Democratic Party came to Michael Jordan, I'm like, hey, would you mind endorsing us? He was like, no. And they said, why? And he was like, because Republicans buy shoes too. That was his response to it.
So I just think that a lot of you guys are just taking the OperaGX thing way too seriously. Not that I don't really use OperaGX. I don't care. But it is one of those things where I have seen that account just repeatedly meme on random shit. So I'm like, don't care.
I'll say this.
I don't see it as a big deal. I see it as just a meme, and I don't think they'll actually do it because that would probably be a disservice to their users if now they get to pick and choose people get to see on Twitter. Like,
here's why.
I think that's just bad for everyone involved. I think it's a meme.
But here's the problem with that. If they said we're working on a feature to remove Grummz and Alyssa Mercante from the internet, that would be a meme, right? So they're basically just saying remove everyone. But
what if they just said they're removing Alyssa Mercante?
I would literally be asking the same question. I said as much. I would be saying, wait a second, why is a browser getting involved in the culture war? Right? It's the same thing that I've done with gaming companies. I've said the same thing with gaming companies where I just say, look, so for example, you know CI games that are openly against DEI in video games at the moment. Right? I have said before, it's fine that CI games is taking a stance against DEI and wokeness in video games. But I don't want to see, and up until now, they've not done so, I don't want to see CI games suddenly go after woke actors and be like, yeah, screw this guy. It's like, wait a second. There's a stance, principally, we will not go ahead with this bullshit. And then there's getting involved in the culture war. In other words, you're now becoming a player. It's fine if us YouTubers do it. We have nothing else to do. Nothing better to do. It's what we do, right? But your job is to make video games. Stick to making video games. Let the culture warriors fight the culture war. I don't like when companies get involved in stuff that has nothing to do with them. You know? Like, why would a browser be telling at least half of their fans or maybe half of their users, yeah, we're working on a feature to remove you from the internet?
I don't think that CI Games has taken like a hard stance against DEI. I think that the one thing that I remember them doing, and I haven't seen a whole lot, was just the whole type A, type B, male/female, and have people choose. I wouldn't say that like, oh, they're anti-representation, anti-DEI, anti-all the. I don't think that's their point.
So they,
I could be wrong.
I mean, I follow the CEO of CI Games, so I see all of his tweets. They are for diversity in the way that it's supposed to be, right? He tweets about this all the time. The whole DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is another one of the left sort of misnomer words where the words don't mean what they're supposed to mean. They just use the words because it sounds good, and then it becomes mega racist as soon as you actually look at what it is. Because for the left, DEI only means no white men. That's all it means, right? It means no white man.
I don't want to argue the definitions of DEI or how.
That's fine. That's fine. But I'm making a point because you asked about CI games. For the left, DEI literally just means no white man. What Marek is saying, I think his name's Marek, but I could be wrong. I can't really pronounce. He has one of those weird names, European names. But what he is saying,
what is that supposed to mean?
Dude, you guys have some weird bloody names. You have all sorts of weird shit on your names and crap.
I don't know if your name is public, but you could say your name if it's public. Go right
Stefan.
ahead, say it. And
my name is Stefan. It's a pretty normal name.
Fucking talking to me about like a strange European name. Your name is Stefan. The fuck is that supposed to mean? Let's not even say your last name, because I know your last name, bro. Not even go there. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, my last name is German. The only difference is we've removed all the silly characters from the German name, and we just use the normal German name for it, right? But Stefan is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Stephan. It's so easy. But you guys have these names where it's like S, but it's not a S because it's got a weird little bullshit thing on it. Then it's a T and an E, but it's not an E. It just looks like an E, but it actually means something completely different.
That's like Nordic or some shit.
That's European. You guys have weird bullshit letters in your alphabet. Because apparently 26 letters is too, like, that's not enough. We want 140 million letters in our alphabets. Thank you very much. You know, because we need a letter for every possible sound. We can't just combine letters to make sounds. Well, that's nonsense. Let's get a letter for every sound, shall we? But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, and he's been tweeting about this, right? Where they're very much against the left's definition of DEI. They're not against diversity. which is what I have always said. I want diversity in video games.
Yeah, but
I want genuine
that's what I'm
diversity.
saying. I would say that CI Games in the middle of all this is more like neutral. I would say they're a developer who's more like neutral.
They just want to get politics.
Yeah.
They said that they will not involve politics in their video games.
Yeah, that's it. They don't want to get into. Yeah,
and I'm okay with that, right? That's why I said if OperaGX tweeted out, "We're working on a feature to remove Grummz and Lisa Mercante from the internet," I would have said, "Well, that's funny, right?" Because they're just basically shooting bullets and hitting everyone. Clearly, this is just a joke. The issue is the fact that they highlighted Grummz and highlighted no one else, right? So they weren't just saying, well, both sides are stupid, we don't care, just use our browser. They were saying, no, this side is stupid, the other side is fine. Because
I think you guys are reading way too much into it.
Dude, I'm just going to say, the tweet didn't include anyone, and since then, they have not tweeted a single thing about removing any of the people on the left from the internet. They have only tweeted about Grummz, and that is the only time that they've gotten involved in this. Happens to be when they are condemning the anti-woke.
Like I was saying, if they were to do something towards the other side, I guarantee there would be a large portion of people going, fucking based.
If they did it now, yes. If they did, and I can't speak. Just to be clear,
there's probably a lot of people that did the same thing as they were saying, "Oh, we're going to block Grummz." I'm sure there are a lot of people going like, "Fucking based." Because that's just what some people on either side of the culture were.
That's fine.
But,
I mean,
like I said, I just think it's memes. I
don't think you're doing yourself any favors by taking sides in the culture war, and this does look like you're taking sides in the culture war. Even if that wasn't your intention, then you're a very stupid social media manager if you can't see that this is 100% taking sides in the culture war. Unless you want to bring out another tweet that say, by the way, we're also working on a feature to remove Alyssa Mercante, then we can start talking about, okay, they're just shooting bullets.
I don't think Alyssa Mercante is relevant enough to be included in that discussion. If anything, they would probably do one for Hassan. That.
If they wanted to go for Hassan, that would also be fine. The problem is just that they haven't, right? They very rarely cover actual people. It's mostly entities that catch flack from OperaGX, and the one time they decide to cover an actual person, it happens to be an anti-woke person, not a woke person. That is, I mean, I'm just gonna say that's more than a coincidence as far as I'm concerned, right? Now, was it enough for me to stop using OperaGX? Yes. I am in the process of switching over to Brave. Screw OperaGX. The only reason I haven't made the full switch is because of X. I have had so much trouble with bloody X. So when I made a new X account because I was tired of my old one. Because my old one was filled with a bunch of woke people from World of Warcraft. I didn't want to deal with them. So I made a new X account. It took me more than a month to be able to log into my X account on my phone because it would just keep telling me the password you're entering is incorrect. The username you're entering is incorrect. This is not the correct password or username. But I have...
Sounds like user error.
It can't be user error. And the reason for it is I have an automatic password manager that is stored offline, but has a plugin that I sort of have to access through USB sticks and all the rest of it. But it automatically enters everything, right? It can only be what it is because when I make it, I also add it to the program. It took a month before one day it just magically went, oh, thank you. You're in. And I was like, shit, okay, I should never log out of this again because this is a nightmare. Now I've been trying to log into X on Brave. Same problem. Same bloody problem. It just keeps going wrong.
Seems like this is an issue with that software that you're using because I haven't seen that happen at all.
I've tried the other way where I legitimately just go, I take the password and I type it in, right? Same problem. Now, how do I know that this is absolutely the password? When you go onto X and you want to make changes to your account, it asks you to confirm your password. That password allows me to change my account. So I know the password is bloody right? I made the username as, dude, the username is visible.
Your African keyboard.
Well,
that's the problem.
The issue is, right?
Keyboard.
My username is at Gaming Grifter. Both G's are capitalized, right? I made it myself. I can see what it looks like. Then it asks me in Brave, you've tried to log in too many times. Please log in with your username. And I go at Gaming Grifter, 2 capital G's, and it goes wrong. Like,
see,
what do you mean wrong? I'm looking at the username here.
Next time, type it in Afrikaans and it will work. Okay, bro? That's what you got. Just type your password, but in Afrikaans.
Dude, I don't even know what Gaming Grifter in Afrikaans would be. Like, I have no idea. I don't know what the words would be for that. Speler Leonor, I guess, would be what the words would be there. Doesn't really work the same.
Well.
But yeah, fundamentally, X has been a problem. But yeah, I'm moving away from OperaGX, moving towards Brave, because I'm just sick and tired of it, right? I don't want to deal with companies that pick a side. I'm happy to deal with companies that don't pick a side, that just absolutely go, look, I don't care about any of this. But if you pick a side, I will absolutely stop supporting you, just because you've told me you don't want my support.
I'm such a basic bitch. I'm using Microsoft Edge, okay?
By the way, how is Microsoft Edge?
It's garbage.
But why are you using it then?
Because I'm fucking lazy and all the other ones that I use fucking suck too. Like Chrome sucks dick. Firefox has been giving me problems. Edge, it works. The biggest complaint, you want to know the biggest complaint that I have for Microsoft Edge is that when I'm live streaming sometimes, what I do is I have like on my second monitor, I'll have the stream running, the dashboard, all of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the browser goes, I'm out of memory.
It's not just Edge.
What do you mean?
That's not just Edge.
Oh, really?
It happens to me on Brave. It happens on Chrome. It happens on OperaGX. The OperaGX, by the way, the browser that doesn't use that much RAM. If I stream for more than an hour, my X page, not my Twitch page, you know, the Twitch landing page where you stream and chat goes, the dashboard?
Yeah.
It's so slow that I have to refresh it to change the stream title, because hitting stream details takes like 30 seconds to open stream details. And then to change anything is like 30 seconds more. It could take like 2 minutes just to change the details. And for those of you that say just get more RAM, I have 64 gigs of RAM. Like,
yeah, it's not a RAM issue.
If I'm going to run out of RAM, it's the software that has a problem. I should not be running out of RAM. So
browsers, they don't make them like they used to, bro.
It's either that the browsers are sucking at this, or there was some kind of change that happened on YouTube and Twitch's side where they're not getting rid of information fast enough, so they're holding on to every single chat message that has come through.
It's funny. It's funny because it only happens to me on YouTube. Like, it doesn't happen to me anywhere else.
Yeah, my Twitch never runs out of memory. It just slows the shit down. My YouTube is the one that keeps running out of memory. Like,
it's probably on YouTube's end.
Yeah, so YouTube is clearly not getting rid of information quick enough. So it keeps the chat just for all of it. And remember, everything that is kept will use RAM, because it has to be stored somewhere. Something has to remember that there's been 10,000 messages sent and what those messages are. So eventually we'll just run out of memory because you have 10,000 live chats that's using all your RAM. So it's like, man, fix your shit. You don't have to keep it for that long. No one is scrolling back to the first hour of their 5-hour stream to go see what John said at the beginning of the stream. No one gives a shit. You can sort of get rid of the message.
Actually, there's a lot of people that watch the stream on delay.
Yeah,
it actually is. It happens with me all the time. They'll do it on purpose. They'll be like, "Oh, I wanted to catch the beginning of the stream," so, and then they'll like have it running at 1.5 to eventually catch up. Yeah, that happens.
Maybe that's why it's happening on YouTube though, because it has to allow for people to watch from the start, and that means that they have to be able to see the chat from the start. because chat replay will be in real time as they're sitting there. Man,
it might be that. I
how
don't
do
know.
you
Yeah,
fix that? There's no way to really fix that thing, is there? Because
I mean, listen, I'll take the occasional memory error so that people can rewatch this. I will take that over whatever the fuck it is that Twitch does, because it makes it like annoying as shit.
I do want to ask you though.
And then
you stream on your main channel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you don't notice any sort of interference with video views versus live stream?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, it fucks with your stuff, absolutely. Yeah, because YouTube still hasn't figured out how to properly do algorithm shit with streams and VODs and blah, 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 blah. But to be honest, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, while I avoid just blatantly overloading the channel with meaningless live streams that I would probably want to do, I do avoid that, so I do play to some of the algorithm. Sometimes it's not worth the hassle of like, oh, I need to make a separate channel for these live streams, and then people want to support me on here, and then I have to ask them for more money. It's actually funny because I specifically asked my partner manager on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I want to have a separate channel for doing separate things, and I want to give my audience that is already supporting me on this channel, I want to give them perks on this other channel because it fucking makes sense, because I don't want to ask people for more money. People that already are giving me money, I don't want to ask them for more.
Yeah.
And you know what he said? He said, blah, 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 blah. Fuck you, give me money. That's what he had to say.
Wow.
He didn't say it like that, but ultimately that's the conclusion. It's like, blah, 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 blah. Fuck you, give me money. Okay?
I don't understand. Everything else on YouTube is attached to your AdSense account, right? Everything else. So if you get banned on one of your YouTube channels, that's a ban on your whole AdSense account. Like all of your channels go away. Why is support not also cross all channels?
Because fuck you, give me money.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing. I mean,
like,
there's...
It's literally that easy, because fuck you, give me money. Wait until they realize that they can make more money if they let people use emotes from different channels across other channels.
When
they realize that feature will be pushed. Because I've also said, hey, how about we just let people, use my emotes on somebody else's channel and use somebody else's emotes on my channel, like they do it on the other platform. It's like,
Dude, the problem with YouTube is they still haven't figured out that the reason people subscribe on Twitch after wanting to support their favorite content creator is to get rid of ads.
Yep.
So that they don't have to watch ads.
And they're going to start, I guarantee to you that within the next like 2 to 3 years, they're going to start penalizing streamers that do not enable mid-roll ads on their streams. So people like me, who I've disabled mid-roll ads when I realized that, members were getting ads. I'm like, what do you mean you're getting ads? You're a member. And they're like, yeah, this happens. We get ads. And I was like, that's bullshit. It's like, I don't want you to get ads. You're already paying me. What do you mean?
I haven't disabled mid-roll ads, and one of the big reasons for it, and I've spoken to my viewers about this as well, they don't really mind YouTube ads because they can just keep watching from where they left off. But also, YouTube ads, unlike Twitch ads, can be skipped after 5 seconds. So you don't have to deal with that bullshit. Whereas Twitch, it's like, take a 3-minute break. We'll be right back. You might miss all of the good bits of the stream, but we'll be right back. So it is what it is. There's very little that you can do. Twitch does have a nice feature in that if you do watch 3 minutes of ads, you as a specific viewer won't or isn't supposed to get ads for at least the next hour and a half, right? So they do have that feature. But
I don't know. It's just,
it's a big bullshit thing.
I've seen YouTube song and dance where they say that like, oh yeah, ads don't affect visibility up until that there was this one year where I was like, man, my views are just like in the fucking garbage, bro, because I was principled and I'm like, I don't want mid-roll ads on my videos. I don't want them. They're bad. They're bad for the viewer experience. Like you watch an ad at the beginning, you watch an ad at the end. That's fair. So I didn't put them for the longest time, and then suddenly one day I was like, "Well, I'm at that point where it's like either something changes or I'm going to be looking for a job or something because I can't keep doing this full time like this."
Yeah.
And then I turn on mid-roll ads, and all of a sudden it's like numbers just go right back into normal. I changed nothing else. I just turned on automatic mid-roll ads. And I was like, "Wee." I was like, "Oh, funny how that works."
Yeah, I mean,
That's so funny. So this is what I predict is going to happen for live stream. It's not, and obviously this is anecdotal evidence. It's just my own personal experience with the system. But yeah, that's what my experience tells me. This inevitably you're going to start seeing live streams like slowly but surely going down, and then people are going to enable their mid-roll ads and like surely but surely going back up. I'm used to YouTube. That's how it works. They don't force you to do anything. They gently nudge you in that direction until that's your only option.
We're not forcing you, but
into a corner.
If you don't want to do this, you'd better get a job.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to force you to do this. You don't have to do this, but your life would be so much easier if you did.
Don't make me do this. I don't want to do this to you. But okay, so off of the OperaGX and the Grummz stuff and so on, let's talk about, like, I think something that a lot of people can get unified by, at least in this channel, because we know how you guys feel about Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Fuck them.
So, yeah, Japan is mega angry, bro. And for those of you that don't know, Japan has been angry with Ubisoft for a while. They had the official Japanese parliament discussing Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows. There was even a letter from the government of Japan to Ubisoft saying, don't release this game in this way. You know, so Japan is not happy. But even after all of that, the game launches, and a lot of the promises that Ubisoft made, like, for example, a day one patch that makes it so that shrines cannot be destroyed, turns out a lot of the shrines can still be destroyed. The patch didn't get all of them.
So they lied.
Yeah, they lied, just outright, or just incompetence, because there's a lot of that at Ubisoft. But then there's now an added problem. You see, for those of you that don't know, every single religious site in Japan is trademarked. It's copyrighted. You need express permission from I can't pronounce the name of this office, but it's a specific office that runs the entirety of the Shintoism faith and religious sites and all the rest of it. You need permission from them in order to put these sites into your video games, if you want to use the likeness and the name of that site. The reason you need permission is there's a shit ton of rules around when you use them, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, what you're allowed to show, what you're not allowed to show, because some of the things are considered so sacred that it can't even be shown in a game, right? So you need to know what you're dealing with. Ubisoft never got that permission. They just sort of went, screw it, rules for me, not for thee. Basically, Ubisoft embraced their Tencent Chinese partners and said, intellectual property rights, what's that? We'll just do whatever we want on this side, right? And now what Japan is ultimately doing, they're discussing punitive measures against Ubisoft. So they might actually sue Ubisoft for copyright infringement, for trademark infringement, and for breaking these sacred rules. Now, for those of you that don't know, and here I'm talking absolutely out of other people's mouths, I don't know shit about Shintoism or Japanese culture, but the reason some of these sites are so highly protected is these sites are not really public knowledge. A lot of these sites are still visited by thousands of people every single year, believers and followers of the faith, and so they're not supposed to be tourist attractions. Some of them are, and some of them are open to the public, but a lot of them aren't. And Ubisoft put those into the game in location with their names, in their likeness. And the problem for them is this is going to attract tourists. People are going to want to come here and come to these shrines, and it's creating the false idea that these shrines are open to the public. These shrines can't deal with thousands of tourists every single day. So this is a big problem for them. That's why they sort of force you to get permission before you use them. So it seems like Japan is not done with Ubisoft, even though Ubisoft will now probably say, "Well, it wasn't us." Like, what do you mean? We don't own an IP called Assassin's Creed. What are you talking about?
That would actually be really funny if they just were like, actually, you need to talk to our subsidiary about this.
Yeah, and then the subsidiary goes, "Well, we didn't make Assassin's Creed Shadows. that was our game."
The main branch made that game. We're working on the next one.
Yeah, and then the main branch just goes, "You have no evidence to back up this claim. No one played this game."
Jesus Christ. I just think it's bad. I don't really have a whole lot to say about that. I do think that Ubisoft has blatantly disrespected Japan.
Yeah.
But at this point,
in more ways than one. In more ways than just
feel
this.
Like I'm beating on a dead horse. Like because like the reality is the real thing that bothers me about Ubisoft is their business practices. Like, yeah, you should be respectful of other cultures, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the thing that I fight against is like these motherfuckers coming up with 5 days of early access, and also there's a deluxe version.
Yeah.
And here's this little bit of the game that we took out, and we're putting it in if you buy the deluxe version. And then there's a season pass, and and suck my fucking dick, bro. I'm fucking garbage ass company.
Yeah. No, I think fundamentally it is just one of those. Luckily for Ubisoft, if Japan were to complain that their game might bring too many tourists to these sacred sites, Ubisoft does have a legitimate defense insofar as, dude, not enough people played our game to really increase tourism by too much, so don't worry about it. It's all good, right? We're definitely not going to be the driver.
3 million activations. What do you mean?
Yeah, most of them didn't play long enough. Did you actually see the achievements?
No.
Dude, the achievement to complete the first act, the first chapter, is a rare achievement on Steam and on PlayStation. It's like less than 20% of all the players even completed the first chapter. The second chapter is 5%. Less than 5% of players even completed the second chapter. So
it's like insert the iDubbbz meme. Ooh. It's kind of small.
Yeah, that's literally it, right? So Ubisoft does have a defense. They're not the driver of tourism in Japan. But okay, so now to talk about Japan, I think Nintendo is Japan, right? Yeah, it's a Japanese company.
Nintendo is a Japanese company. Yes, correct.
Rukan, I know you've been itching for this. This is what you've been wanting to talk about. I'm pretty sure that's actually the reason why he wanted to do the show early, because he was too excited and he just wanted to talk about Nintendo. So take it away.
Okay, so yesterday we had the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I say yesterday because we're recording this on Thursday, and on Wednesday is when we got the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. This was the big Direct that was going to give us all of the details about what to expect from Nintendo Switch 2. And there's a lot of very interesting things. So first and foremost, I am a fan of the Switch. I like the Switch. I like the fact that it uses cartridges still. I like the fact that it is one of the few console systems left that appears to still care somewhat about the physical versions of games. And so I'm going to get a Switch 2 because I have a massive Switch 1 library that I've been picking up over the years, usually buying like games on discount and stuff like that, just to kind of amass a little collection of physical media. Because as you no doubt know by now, I'm a big fan of physical media, even though a lot of consoles are kind of like moving away from that. And so I was watching the Switch 2 presentation, and even though I like the fact that, it's more powerful hardware, it's actually going to enable us to do some interesting things, which I was very, I kind of expected it to happen, but I was still surprised with the fact that Nintendo is actually going to go, yeah, we're doing 4K 60 when the console is docked. I was like, you're going to do what now? You're going to 4K 60. But the other thing that was even more surprising is when they said, and also we're doing 1080p 120 on some games. And I was like, that's cool. Like, you very rarely even see people talk about 120. But those are all just like a couple of features. It's going to be a more powerful Switch, basically.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to have faster cartridges, still has physical cartridges and all of that good stuff. And it's got a bunch of like little neat features. Now, where things start to get weird, and we'll talk about the price because that's like the big topic, but I have a couple of chaser items before we get there, right?
Yeah.
So where things start to get weird is, did you see them use that thing as a mouse?
I did.
What do you think about that?
I think there's a number of problems with it. The first is ergonomic. That is not going to be a great mouse experience. Anyone that uses a mouse will understand why. Like the way your hand is on it is weird. I think the other problem also is if it has all of these sort of geo data stuff that's going on, why would you even need to use it as a mouse? Like, could you not just use your hands, sort of like the Wii U nonsense, and just do it that way?
Light gun. Yes, they call it the light gun because, you used to like aim a gun at the TV and it's the same thing. So, and by the way, this is something that I thought since the first time that I've ever played a Wii, I was like, oh, this is going to change everything because it's so much better than traditional analog stick aiming. And I know that for a lot of people, they've never adapted that technology and they don't like it. But the interesting thing with this is like, you're not going to know because you don't play consoles, but the Wii was actually better and more precise than the Switch. And I know that there are going to be people out there that are going to say, what? You're crazy. And it's like, no, you motherfuckers are crazy. It was more accurate because it had that stupid light bar thing.
Yeah.
And you could actually aim the stuff at the TV and it was super accurate. Whereas with the Switch, because it doesn't use the light technology, it just uses like gyroscopes and all of this other stuff. I find that one to not be as precise as the Switch, personally. But still, I like the technology. I like aiming the controller at the TV and shooting stuff
I think
and whatnot.
You have the technology for it because, I mean, the mouse thing that they have is actually pretty cool insofar as even if you move the mouse, like, you twist it, it also twists with you. It can move stuff in that direction too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like why not? Why does that have to be on a table like a mouse? Like why could you not just point that at the screen? And why this is weird is it has the wrist straps. Like, it has the wrist.
It might shoot off.
Yeah,
you don't know. It might just shoot off.
As a mouse user for most of my life, I have never thought to myself, "Man, this mouse just needs a wrist strap." I have never had the need for that.
So here's another aspect of the mouse thing that I thought was weird because they kept doubling down on it, including in games where I was like, you've done this before with the light gun technology.
Yeah.
And it was way better than whatever the fuck this is because like, are you really going to play a Nintendo Switch on top of a table? Like everybody knows. Most people that play console, okay, not everybody, but most people that play console, they're playing it on a couch. They sit down on the couch. That's like one of the advantages of console. You're just like you're chilling on the couch with your controller in hands or the separate controllers or the Wii U and the nunchuck and all of that shit. And it's like, that's one of the advantages of console. It's convenient. You sit on your couch. Like, I can already tell a lot of people are going to be doing that light shit with the mouse thing on their leg.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work properly because we've all done mouse in the leg and it's not a good experience. It's not going to be a good experience when you do it with a Joy-Con. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. Maybe it's actually amazing and you can do it off of your couch and shit because they have like some revolutionary infrared technology, whatever the fuck. But I highly doubt it. I think it's going to be terrible. I don't think it's going to be a particularly good user experience. It is what it is. But that was thing number one. Mm-hmm. Thing number two, Nintendo camera. And let me tell you something.
Ooh.
PlayStation 4 has had a fantastic experience with this when they've done camera technology. You know what happened?
Yeah.
On the PlayStation Network?
I guess it crashed or it became very slow.
No. It was porn broadcasts, 24/7, baby.
I sort of joked about this yesterday, where I was like, why would I
tune into a on PS4? You tune into a PlayStation 4 broadcast, and here's what you're listening to.
Oh wow, yeah, of course. I looked at it and I was like, man, they're making a big deal of this. So I'll tell you, just in line with gripes, dude, they really went all in on the fact that they invented a button. Like that shit was like for 10 minutes, it was all about the button that they had invented. This super new button that you absolutely need in your life, that has a C on it, and that does things that you absolutely do not need in your life. Because why would you first and foremost want to watch what your friends are playing while they're playing it? Like, you're playing your own game. Like, you're supposed to be looking at your game, not looking at their game. Because every single camera you put at the bottom makes your screen smaller. So I don't understand why I would want to do that, first and foremost.
I swear to God.
The quality is also super bad, by the way. Sorry, just want to say, did you see the quality of the friends that's playing with you? It's like in less than 30 frames per second. Really shit quality. Then you're adding their faces also into it, and it's like, dude, there's so much information that it's just information overload, which means most people will just not even turn that on. Because where am I supposed to look? There's so much movement on my screen. I don't know.
I swear to God that, like, there's a lot of companies that have no idea how gamers do things.
Yeah.
Which, let's just say that, number one, Discord exists, and that's going to be what people are going to use when they're playing your Nintendo games.
And it shouldn't be lost on anyone that it literally looks like the Discord layout.
Yeah.
They literally just copied Discord.
Like, it's bootleg Discord, right? It's basically bootleg Discord. It's got like some... Like, I can just imagine them handing out tasks to a bunch of engineers at Nintendo and go like, okay, listen, I need you to figure out a way to green screen these people's backgrounds out.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you could have just asked me and I would have told you that's a waste of your fucking time.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, this whole app thing that you're doing, here's what you need. Put some Discord integration into that bitch. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what people are going to use. They're going to use Discord.
Of course.
It's literally that simple. If you want to be fancy with it, give people the option between Discord and TeamSpeak so that you can say, hey, we gave people like 2 or 3 or even Ventrilo in there if you want to.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ventrilo is even around. Like, if you want to be fancy, give people like a couple of options, whatever.
Yeah.
But like trying to reinvent the wheel is just whatever.
For people who might not think that this is a real thing, Blizzard tried to do this. Blizzard went all balls to the wall with their own in-game voice, in-game everything. Guess what? People just kept using Discord because everyone is on Discord already. Why would I use the in-game chat when I have Discord open when I'm playing my video game? That make no sense.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I will say, Xbox has a party system. PlayStation has a built-in party system. Nintendo should also have a built-in party system, but they should have stuck with the basics, like voice comms. That's all you really need.
Yeah.
Like all of this, let's put share screen and then let's superimpose their face with green screen. It's like, bro, listen, even if you want to do that, right? You can go ahead and you can do that. Don't waste like 20 minutes of your presentation showing people like doing all of these things. And then the other hilarious thing was when they go and they start saying, so you can still get together with your friends. And I'm like, if you can get together with your friends, like the last thing you want to do is do it online. Actually physically be in the same space as your friends. It's like an infinitely better experience.
Of course.
To begin with. But regardless of that, that's not going to be an option for
everyone. And it is a portable thing. So you and your friends sitting in the same sitting room, playing games together where you can literally in real time without delay tell your friend you suck, bro, is a hell of a lot better than doing it online.
Exactly. But regardless of that, I do think that they were due to have a built-in party system. I think that makes sense. But I think that the amount of time that they spent on that camera bullshit and then trying to integrate like camera features into these games, like,
but Rurikon, you're missing the point.
Be real.
You're missing the point. They invented a
Okay.
button. I mean,
I don't care about the button.
but they care. They spend 10 minutes talking about this special button that, by the way, doesn't mute.
Starts with a C.
The button doesn't mute. You click the button to open the menu, the chat function, that then allows you to hit the mute button. It's like, wait, so what? Why could you not just have put the mute button on the screen so I can just go there? I don't understand this. It's like, okay, never mind.
The party feature, I'm sure, is used by a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Both on PlayStation and on Xbox. 100% it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that makes sense. But like all these camera functionalities, and particularly when it comes to camera functionalities within games, like, let me just tell you what that's going to be, especially if you're playing with randoms. You're going to be looking at dong, okay?
Yeah.
Like, when I saw there was like the gameplay section where there was that lady's face on top of the bullet bill that's coming in murdering everybody, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a picture of a dick.
Yeah.
It's going to be
100%.
It's just going to be a penis on top of that bullet bill.
Yeah.
And that's all I could see.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the internet has ruined me. That's the way that I look at it. So the whole camera stuff, they really went really hardcore on it.
Dude,
and I was like,
you want to know who kills if they can come up with this first? Then this isn't even a hard thing. So anyone who's ever used Discord knows that you can do custom groups. You don't have to be in a specific Discord community to phone people on Discord and have like five or six people hanging out talking in a custom group. The first game to bring out a party feature where the chat integration is literally just, it opens a custom Discord group. That's it. That's it. Great. That's the innovation that we needed. We're already on Discord. I just go party and they all say yes, and we immediately call each other in a custom Discord sort of chat group. Much better. I don't know why everyone is trying to reinvent the wheel. Discord already exists. I don't know. It's nuts to me.
But regardless of that, so we had the mouse mode thing, we had the camera thing, the bootleg Discord, whatever. Like, again, I want to emphasize, I think that them having a party system, that's
good. Yeah.
Because you should definitely have a party system.
Yeah.
I think
it's the voice stuff and the camera shit.
And then the other problem. The other problem is, and maybe this is unfair because I haven't really seen the thing work and or whatever, but even in their presentation, it didn't look particularly good, is we put the microphone in the console.
Yeah.
Why? Why is the microphone not on the controller? The DualSense has a microphone on the controller, and it's so much better. Like, why would you not just
Doesn't
have
I think
microphone on
the Pro controllers do have a mic.
They do?
I think so. Because it says
if the Pro controllers have a microphone, why don't the Joy-Cons have a microphone?
I don't know.
Like, I can keep playing this game all day.
I could be wrong, right? So please don't take my word for this. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
I've never owned a single Nintendo product. Right? Outside of, well, I should probably not say that because I used to own these cheap Chinese console knockoffs, like these super cheap ones that had these massive cartridges, and Mario Brothers was one of the games on these cartridges. So via, I own some Nintendo product, but I've never actually owned a Nintendo anything. So I don't know much about this. I watched the presentation, I watched the direct because some of my community wanted to watch it, but I actually have another thing that I wanted to bring up with you. Which isn't just but I want to hear from you if this is true, because Mudahar tweeted this. Some ordinary gamers, he tweeted this. So this comes from Oatmeal Dome, that says the new cartridge in the Switch, right? The game key cards that you're gonna need in order to play video games.
I know exactly what you're saying. I'm gonna get to that.
Okay. Okay.
We will get to that.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's the Discord stuff. In regards to the microphone, like I was saying, I was getting to the microphone, and it's the fact that the microphone's in the console, which is far away from you, and they're saying they're going to have like noise cancellation technology and all that shit. It's like, no, I don't know.
You're still going to be screaming. I mean, unless they've come up with the greatest voice cancellation software in the history of ever, because I've used all of them, including NVIDIA's AI shit. None of them is that good. None of them is that good.
And it's like, it doesn't make any sense that you don't put the microphone in the controller. It just makes no logical sense whatsoever. You put the new button on the controller. You could have put the button in my ass and put the microphone on the controller instead. That would have worked better. Like, I'm sorry.
Hey, they have a camera now. There might be people who put the button in their ass on camera.
Think God damn it. Think about it like this, right? You're going to press the C button to go to the chat menu. It basically takes you out of the game and into another menu.
So
where
you
it
can
splits
mute
your screen in half, does whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, guess what button already kind of does that? The home button. You press the home button, you go outside, and then you have the option. You can hold the home button. That brings you up a quick menu, which probably lets you access the chat functionality as well. You didn't need a new button. You could have gotten rid of that button and put a fucking microphone in there
that
instead,
would have meant the direct would have been 10 minutes shorter. They didn't want that. They wanted the specific length.
So again, and I'm pointing out flaws because, like I said at the beginning, I'm a fan of the Switch. So I want a console that is good, and these are problems that I can identify in the console.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. I'm not sitting here hating on Nintendo. Like I said, party system, that's good. Focusing too much on camera bullshit, that's bad. Here's another thing. Why is the camera connected to the console rather than the dock? You think people are going to be carrying around the console and the camera? Come on now.
Yeah.
The camera is going to sit next to the dock. And this is for the tiny minority of people that will even buy the damn thing, because the majority of people don't give a fuck about the camera.
Yeah.
But whatever. You want to have a camera, you want to have all these fancy things, go right ahead. I don't care. Just try not to waste too much time on these things.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing. I'm not sure if you're aware of a game called Astrobot won Game of the Year last year.
Yeah.
So the very first version of Astrobot, not the one that came out last year, the very first version was kind of like a tech demo for PlayStation 5 technology.
Yeah.
Came bundled in for free with the PlayStation 5, and it was an actual honest to good video game that, a lot of people are like, oh, this is actually a really good video game. It's not particularly long because obviously it's just kind of like a tech demo type of thing. But people enjoy the crap out of Astrobot, and it was a really good showcase for all the controller features and all of this thing. Now, Nintendo decides that rather than making a Mario game that could kind of work like Astrobot did, they're smarter than that. They're going to do a software called the Welcome Tour. And right off the bat, when they were showing off Welcome Tour, I was like, man, Astrobot did this a million times better. But whatever, it's probably going to be free. And that's when I started reading the small text at the bottom. That is a paid software for you to read technical information about the Nintendo Switch 2.
Dude,
it's not even a video game. I'm like...
So here's what it is. It's literally the manual. You know how products come with a manual inside the box to tell you what the bloody hell is going on here? It's the manual that you also have to extra pay for in order to read what your bloody console does. It's like, wait, what?
Like, I was seeing it and I was like, oh. Ugh. I mean, obviously Astrobot did this better, but whatever. This is probably going to be free. And then when I read that it's paid software, I was like, you guys, what have you been smoking? Are you crazy?
Can I put this?
You're insane.
Can I put this into perspective for people? Now, this will all depend on, is there an actual manual in the box? So in other words, this is just sort of, if you want no, I'm saying we're going to have to wait and see when the first people start buying it.
No, there's going to be a manual in the box, 100%. I have no question.
Let's just see, because the problem here is, remember, the manual is digital. That game is literally just the manual. Because if you look, you talk to these little whiteboards, and it tells you this button does this button does this is what the controller does. So it is legitimately just the manual. So it could be that Nintendo goes, well, we're not putting a manual in the box. Now, let's do this on gaming. Let's take this to normal video games. Imagine you buy your favorite game and you want to go to the key mapping to see what keys does what. And it says, well, you can find out by playing this little mini game for $9.99. because we don't tell you what the key maps are. They work, and the key maps are there, but you have to figure it out for yourself unless you pay $9.99 to get your hands on the actual key map. It is dystopian as shit, future. But I mean, the fact that you're charging for what is literally just a digital version of a game manual is already dystopian as shit, bro. Like, we're already... And the fact that they call it a game, but it is legitimately just you running and reading a bunch of whiteboards. That's sort of like, wait, what?
Now, listen. There's also some good stuff that happened. One of them was that whole game sharing feature.
Yep.
Which it has like this feature that apparently games that you can play that have like couch co-op, you can just stream those to other Switches, and you only need one person to own.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I was
like, okay, that is legit really cool. It works both for Switch 2 and Switch 1, which I was like, that's even better. That is really cool. And that is functionality that new games that come out can make use of, which is a very good thing.
And I would love to say, this is something we desperately need in multiplayer games on PC.
Absolutely.
The guy from Split Fiction, he does it with all of his games.
Hazelight Studios.
Yeah.
Hazelight Studios are goats for doing that.
They do it with all of their games. Works. Right? If you own Brothers or if you own A Way Out or Split Fiction, I can play with you even if I don't own it. Because it is a multiplayer only game. Now, I think we need that feature and functionality for all multiplayer games. You can play with a friend because ultimately the friend might end up buying the game too because they have other friends that they want to play the game with. Right? That I loved. That was a cool feature from Nintendo.
That was a really cool feature. So you got to give them W's where they have W's. They showed off the new Mario Kart, which is Mario Kart World, kind of like Mario Kart meets Forza Horizon, because that's what a lot of those features are, which looks really, really fun. Looks like a super fun game. They showed off Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is actually... really, I like the idea of Donkey Kong just punching shit, blowing it up, and voxels and all of that crazy stuff. So that looks also really cool. And then this is something that they didn't show. They talked about how there's going to be a new set of cartridges, and those cartridges are going to be faster than traditional cartridges. However, there are also going to be these other new cartridges, which are game key cartridges, which are different. That's why I was telling you, like, we will get to that. So the game key cartridges are basically something that is going to replace the code in the box, which is something that's already being sold, which is one of the most stupid things I will ever see in my goddamn life. I do not understand why this is even a product. It just shows you how fucking disconnected some of these marketing buffoons are to the actual gaming audience, that they would sell codes in a box. How about I grab this box that has a code in it and I shove it up your ass, you absolute marketing monkey, because you have no fucking idea why people actually buy physical versions of video games, because it is for the sake of fucking preserving the goddamn game.
Yeah.
God, I swear to God, these fucking people over there at marketing have no fucking clue what they're doing, dude, with their goddamn time. But anyways, this is a new type of cartridge that you buy it, probably costs as much as a digital game, and then it comes with a game key that you put into your console, and that downloads the game, and it works like some type of DRM, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, the issue here, so Mudar actually goes into this with his tweet as well. It seems like when you go and you buy almost any game from Nintendo, this is the new game key card that comes with it. That's how your game works. Because according to this guy, the cartridge has no data on it. It just has a special code on it. But if you don't have the cartridge inserted, you can't play the game. The cartridge must be inserted at all times in order to play the game. Even though the game is physically not on that cartridge, the cartridge is just a little code that says you own it.
So here's why I say that there's two types of cartridges and not just one. I haven't looked too deeply into this, but during the presentation, when talking about the cartridge, they're going like, oh, this is a Nintendo Switch cartridge, and this is a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge. The Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge is red, and it is also using different technology. It has faster read speeds. why the fuck would they put faster read speeds on a card that is not even going to be read from because it's just a code? That makes no sense. So either there's some weird thing happening in that presentation or there's two types of cartridges.
Yeah.
My money is there's two types of cartridges because there's a lot of companies that are fucking cheapskates and they don't want to pay for
What was the original's color?
Black.
Black.
Black with a sticker. This one's red with a sticker.
Yeah, because the other raid was the SD cards, right? Where it went from yellow to black. And those are also faster and whatnot. So I'm not sure. It's very confusing. I get you, and I'm not disagreeing with you. You know better than me what goes on here. I just think this whole thing is super confusing. So
it absolutely is confusing.
You have some cartridges that have the game on it. Then you have other cartridges that probably, because the other cartridge, the game key card, is also red, right? But this is the game key card. Red. And it's like, well, did I buy the game key card or did I buy the actual game card? Do I know?
You have to look at the case, and the case will have a little box, a little blue box of text that will say network connection required or something along those lines. And those will probably be the ones that will have the game key.
Well, I think if this is one thing that I might put out there, this is sort of the move that we saw from PlayStation and Xbox, which literally to me just signals first step, right? You sort of start with, oh yeah, we're making two consoles that have the CD drives on it, but then we're going to make this new console that doesn't have the CD drive. If you want the CD drive, buy that extra. And anyone that thinks, well, it's nice that they give you choice, don't understand how these companies are operating. The choice is only for now. Next version, the choice goes away most likely, and now everything is just online. And I think this is what this cartridge is. It's sort of, okay, for now, we'll give you a choice. You can either have full game on cartridge or this other bullshit cartridge that may as well just have been a code, but isn't a code. It's a cartridge instead.
Yeah.
You know, but then next version, so Switch 3, that's the cartridge. That is the bullshit cartridge that isn't a cartridge, but may as well just be a code, because that's now all you have. So it's sort of like, just turn the heat up in the water. Don't let the frogs realize they're about to boil.
So it's like there is obviously one advantage to this, even though that advantage is not that massive, because we talked about it last podcast with the introduction of a new feature for the Nintendo Switch, which was the whole thing. Excuse me. The whole thing about them allowing you to loan out digital games.
Yeah.
So the difference is with the game key cartridge, you can loan it out rather than having a code, which you can't loan out. So I can loan you a game key cartridge and it will download into your system. Then you can give it back. So that's just one of the things that you can do.
But wouldn't you have the same thing with just if the game was on
regular
the cartridge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you would. But, unfortunately, a lot of companies are too cheap for that, so they're going to sell them these cheaper cartridges, and they can just be like, oh, yeah, here's our game, here's our code, and it's digital only, and get fucked, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why I actually think that probably the Switch 2 might end up being the last console that I ever buy. Maybe. Oh, yeah. I don't actually know. But we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, that's the situation with the cartridges. Now there's more. They're doing GameCube emulation, which to me I just wanted to yeet my head into a wall when I saw them presenting Wind Waker emulated. And the reason why is because there's a better version of Wind Waker that already exists on the Wii U that they could easily port onto the Switch 2 and probably make fucking bank for it. But rather than that, they're like, no, we're going to give you the old version of this game emulated on this new console because reasons. And I'm just like, just fucking grab the Wii U version, bro. Just put that on a cartridge. It's not that hard. But no, they're not doing that because that would be far too smart. That would be far too much of a thing that people would want. So rather than that, you get that shit emulated.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I was just like, bro, whatever, bro. Just like
Dude,
I don't know. You guys want money so bad, but you can't even do the things that your audience wants. Like, obviously, people would fucking buy a Wind Waker cartridge for Switch 2. Absolutely.
So
this would sell.
I want to point this out. It genuinely felt, and I know this is how Nintendo makes their money. So I want to point this out now because we're getting too far away from the original, all the things you listed. The reason all of this exists, the cameras, the all that bullshit, is Nintendo's greatest strength is the exact reason why Apple is the largest tech company in the world. Ecosystem.
Closed ecosystem?
Yeah. It doesn't allow anyone else really into their ecosystem. And if you do, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get into it. And it has to be somewhat exclusive. But what's interesting is they also don't allow any of theirs to leave the ecosystem ever. So you do get companies that sort of sell out to Nintendo and launch their games on the Switch. But you'll note there is no Nintendo games on Steam. There is no Nintendo games anywhere else. You have to buy their shit if you want to play it. So they're just keeping everything in this little box, just holding on for dear life. But everything else just feels like it's, okay, you already have the ecosystem. Why are you fleecing your customers around every single turn? Like, everything comes with a price tag. You have a game that you own on the Switch One. Congratulations. You can play it with upgraded graphics and everything else on the Switch 2 for a price.
For $10.
Yeah, you have to buy the upgrade pack. It's like, wow, you're not even gonna give them that for free. They already bought the game, bro.
And here's the other thing, because they're doing that for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which are the two latest Zeldas that came out on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And what is happening with that is they also said, oh yeah, but we're also going to give this for free. And a lot of people have been spreading that. They're like, oh yeah, but the upgrades on Zelda, they're free, guys, they're free. Except, once again, nobody's reading the fine print. They're free if you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber with the expansion pack.
Yeah.
Then they're free.
Oh, and
So
also the
it's not
C button.
actually free.
The C button that they invented is also attached to the subscription, as far as I'm aware.
No.
They did say
communicate.
I'm pretty sure, because one of my viewers is like a massive Nintendo fan, and he was sort of freaking out about this because most of the super new chat functionality that they're introducing, not all, I think voice chat is just basic. You can do that with just normal. But then all of that other functionality that they showed off, you know, the watching each other's gameplay and having the cameras everywhere and all the rest of it. As far as I'm aware, those are part of the subscription. You have to, and there's 2 subscriptions also. Why is, like, there's a normal subscription and then there's an online subscription. Why is there so many tiers to a Nintendo bullshit?
You don't follow consoles at all. This is standard for both Xbox and PlayStation.
Why? I mean, just because it's standard doesn't make it good. I mean, it's standard in the gaming industry to bring out bullshit products for more money, and we're gonna get to the money in a second. But why? Why do people put up with this? I by the way, I've criticized Xbox and PlayStation for this.
Yeah, you subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate.
No, hold up. I don't have to subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate, right? I can just play my games on Steam, and most of my games I do just play on Steam. I don't have to subscribe to Game Pass. The problem that I have is, I don't know if that's changed, but I know there was a time during like the early Xboxes where you couldn't play multiplayer online games unless you had
You still can't.
Why? You have the internet connection. The internet is plugged into your console.
You can't play PlayStation games either.
You see, that scumbag bullshit.
And you can't play Nintendo games either.
That is scumbag, bro. Like, that is scumbag.
Listen, why do you think I've started making the move to PC, bro?
Because guess what? I buy my game on Steam. I'm not buying another subscription to play online. I have an internet connection. I'm playing online.
Yeah.
No problems, right? The console, man, this is just... Sorry, I think as a PC player, it's just such a foreign idea to me that you'll have to pay to play multiplayer. It's just so foreign to me that it makes no sense.
See, that's the thing. I was begrudgingly paying the multiplayer tax because I could have my physical games collection. And when I noticed that that physical games collection was not really being as supported as I wanted to, I was like, well, fuck it. If I'm not going to have physical games, I'm not going to pay PlayStation Plus anymore either. I'm good. Thank you. I'll just play everything on Steam, be done with it.
Yeah.
And for the Switch, I usually don't even pay online that much because most of the stuff that I play on Switch is single player. But the Switch has another advantage that the other consoles do not have, and it is something that I personally really, really like, which is it has ad hoc multiplayer, which means you have a Switch, I have a Switch, we're physically at the same location. We don't have to go through an online server.
Okay.
I connect directly to your Switch, and we can play our multiplayer game that way. And there's a bunch of games that will support that, which is something that we used to have in video games and on PC, even through TCP/IP. We didn't have to go through
LAN
other servers. Like, you talk to people about LAN parties nowadays, and they're like, what the fuck is a LAN party? Nobody even knows. Nobody knows what is TCP/IP, UDP, the protocols that we used to use to play all these video games. Nobody fucking knows any of that. All they know is like, servers up, servers down. Like, that's it. That's all they know about multiplayer games, is whether or not the server is up or down. It's like, everything used to be peer-to-peer. I'm not saying that was better, but having the option was definitely... It was really good to just have that option to be able to we're going to do a LAN party. We're going to get together, and we don't need internet. We just bring.
I'll be honest with you, bro. LAN parties will no longer work for me. Like, okay, first, this PC that I have here weighs a lot, right? It is a heavy little bitch.
See,
I don't want to carry this thing around. And then,
that's another advantage of the Switch. Ad hoc, and you can just take it with you.
Yeah, but I can also just take the Steam Deck with me, right? I can also just do that.
But does it have ad hoc?
Well, I'm not. It has online, so I can sit with you and just connect online, and it's the same thing, right? But then also my screens don't have their original stands. They're on arms at the back, so I'd have to remove the arm and hope that the guy has a disc compatible with the arm. It's like, no. Thank goodness we have the internet, and if I want a multiplayer, I can just go Rurikon, just play some games, bro.
No, it's not.
It's much easier.
It's not the same though, bro. It's not the same. LAN parties were so cool. I miss those days.
They were, but it is what it is. You know.
That's another functionality. We talked about the game key cards. We just talked about the game upgrades, the emulation. So I guess we can bring up Elden Ring, which is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And this is very important because a lot of people are going to get... they're going to be confused as to why would From Software partner with Nintendo. This is going to start dipping into our other thing, and I know we haven't gotten to the price yet. We'll leave that one towards the end because that's going to be the big money winner, like I was saying. But so here's something that a lot of people might not know about Bloodborne. I talked about this yesterday, and I made a video about it. One of the main reasons why From Software partnered with PlayStation. This was confirmed in interviews ages ago. I don't even know what interviews it was, but this was confirmed by Miyazaki. One of the main reasons they partnered with Sony to produce Bloodborne is because they wanted to understand the technology of the PlayStation 4 system. People that don't understand, PlayStation 3 used something called the Cell processor, which was exceedingly different from the technology that Xbox even was using, and also different from the technology that PlayStation ended up using on PlayStation 4. So they wanted to fully understand the technology of PlayStation. What's the best way? Have PlayStation invested in you bringing out a game for them. So PlayStation helped them develop Bloodborne, and they were able to utilize all of the functionality of the PlayStation 4 because they had Sony's engineers at their beck and call whenever they had a question like, hey, we want to make this thing, what's the best way? And they would go in there and figure it out. What was the best way to implement that on their system? And so what I am interpreting Miyazaki doing now, and I don't know if Miyazaki approached Nintendo or if Nintendo approached them, but my read on the situation is Miyazaki is looking back and like, man, that Switch was fucking popular as bullshit, bro. That thing sold millions of units. be really cool if we could learn how to program properly on that fucking system, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And Nintendo is obviously going to be like, well, fuck yeah, we'd love to have an exclusive from software game. And they're like, okay, well, help us port Elden Ring to your system. And so probably Nintendo gave them a bunch of engineers to like work with them on porting their engine there. And then they're like, okay, now we'll make a game because now our engine is in your system. We know how to use it. We can make a game on there. And they're also getting even more money from Nintendo because they get Elden Ring and they get like an exclusive game on there, which is the Duskbloods, which is a game that From Software is developing exclusive for Nintendo. Now, before people get upset, like you were saying, oh man, I wish that wasn't an exclusive. And it's like, listen, me too. I don't want exclusives. I want everybody to be able to play every video game at all times on whatever platform you happen to be in.
Yeah.
I don't think exclusives are particularly good for the gaming industry. And I think that a lot of third parties are realizing that. Like if you look at Capcom, their biggest launch ever, Monster Hunter Wilds, is a multi-platform release that is available on every single platform. Biggest launch they've ever done. So
and PC was insanely big for the Monster Hunter.
PC was more than half of their sales.
Yeah.
We covered that on a previous podcast. Yes. So yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be an exclusive. It kind of sucks that it is an exclusive. I'm just explaining to people the likely reason as to why they did it.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that reason.
They got a fucking fat bag, and they got help from Nintendo developing on their platform, almost like 100%.
I think
this is speculation, though.
Yeah,
informed speculation based on what I know of Bloodborne's development.
I also want to put something out here in that vein because it's not a topic we had listed, but it is in relation to this. The CEO of CI Games was asked in the week, is your next game also going to be an Epic exclusive? And he said, yes. It'll be the same as Lords of the Fallen. It will be an Epic exclusive. And then he explained why. Epic is a phenomenal partner. The game is made on Unreal. By partnering with Epic, they get to take advantage of all of the knowledge of Epic. If they have a question, if they have something that they're struggling with, Epic's engineers will pick up the slack. Will help them fix whatever is wrong. Plus, you get a big bag of money at the end. And sure, your game doesn't sell as well in the beginning, but hopefully you can make up with that in sales later on. Although we have still to see the game that actually cracks that later on thing, because most of them don't end up selling later on. But anyways, I understand the logic.
Alan Wake 2, one of those examples that really recently has finally got into black or whatever?
Finally started to break even and now started to make some profit. But I mean, at this point, how many times have that game been on sale? Because that's effectively what you're now doing. You're selling the game at a loss, or not at a loss, but at a much reduced profit margin to get people to finally play the game and hopefully make back your money. So yeah, but anyways.
But in regards to Duskbloods, people are probably going to want to know my take on it because obviously I'm a big From Software fanboy. And the thing is, we don't know a whole lot about the game yet. I did like a trailer breakdown, which I was going through piece by piece, talking about different things in the trailer, but there's really not a whole lot we know other than it is yet again another multiplayer-focused From Software game, which this gives Nintendo another reason to charge people for a Nintendo Switch Online. So to them, it's like it's a double win. Now, a big problem that I will point out is that From Software games don't usually have the best netcode. Nintendo Online doesn't really have the best netcode. You put those two together, and the fact that a lot of people that own Nintendo Switches play on Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
That's a recipe for fucking disaster. But it is a multiplayer. They're calling it a PvPvE game. So it's got both PvP and PvE. I'm super curious. I'm still excited. I'm going to check it out. And it is a Switch exclusive, so it's not going to have like a simultaneous PC release. Maybe it's a timed exclusive. I would imagine it's a timed exclusive. I don't imagine it will be stuck on Nintendo forever. but I don't actually know what the situation is with that. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But that's all I know about the Duskbloods. Now, another thing that was also shown at the show, and this is the part where I told you I'm going to need you to edit in some footage. I'm gonna write down the timestamp. It's around 2:06. Okay.
Okay.
So Nintendo showed some footage of Pokemon AZ running in stunning 4K 60.
Yeah.
And I would just like to point out that this is Game Freak at their full potential. They're firing off on all cylinders and feeding you the laziest slop that I have seen in my goddamn life, bro.
Of course.
You look at those things at 4K 60 and you're like, why is this even at 4K 60, bro? You could be running it at 360p and I wouldn't be able to tell the fucking difference.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
and so the important thing for people to keep in mind here is there is another game that exists, because this game is on the Switch 2.
yeah.
There's a game that exists on the Switch 1 that Akalon's going to hopefully be showing footage here now, which is called Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. This is a port of a game that came out on the Wii U, which is a weaker console than the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. And this is a game that released in 2015.
Wow.
And then I want you to just take another look at Pokemon as 4K 60. Okay?
Yeah.
Here's Xenoblade Chronicles X. Here's Pokemon at 4K 60. Okay? That's all I want to say. Okay? But here's the thing. It will sell millions.
Of course it will.
Because people will eat that slop all day, every day, and that's why Game Freak doesn't give a fuck. And they're going to keep feeding you disgusting slop every step of the way.
Well, I think what needs to be said here is Game Freak had every incentive to really amp up. And the reason is Palworld. Palworld showed what Pokemon could potentially do if they just applied a little bit of effort to it. And what do? Nothing. Why? Because Nintendo fanboys will just support anything Nintendo does. I mean, I'm seeing people literally, I'm just scrolling through Twitter very quickly here, and I see a guy that you responded to, T. Halams, making the argument that $80 a game, not that bad, bro, in 2025, cheaper than other games. I know we're going to get to the pricing in a second, but this is the sort of thing that fanboys of Nintendo do. No matter what Nintendo does, they'll just eat it up. And that's what you don't understand is you're literally incentivizing Nintendo not to innovate, not to do anything better or bigger. You could have gotten much better Pokemon games, but because you, instead of celebrating Palworld, try to attack Palworld on behalf of your masters, Nintendo just said, well, then we won't make a Palworld game. We'll just give you another piece of shit auto battler, basically, that looks like ass, and call it a new Pokemon game. It's like, oh, well, I guess, you know. It's like, it's nuts.
Let's get to that pricing.
Yes,
Nintendo
please.
Switch 2 is going to cost $449. The regular version just has the Switch on there with the Joy-Cons, the dock, your charging cable, whatever the crap other accessories it might have. But it's like it's a standard Switch bundle, very much like the Switch one, and it just, $449.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I'm not overly against that price. No,
the price for the console is pretty good, actually. It's a pretty decent price.
Yeah. I expected it to be closer to the 400, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I don't know how big the power gain is going to be. That's going to be the big question as to whether or not the power gain is going to be big enough to justify that. But like I said, they are shooting to do 4K 60 docked. So we'll see how that works out. It's probably going to be using all kinds of the LSS technology to reach there.
Oh, yeah.
With whatever games it's even able to reach there.
Yeah.
But we'll see how all of that stuff pans out.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have a bundle, which is going to be $499 with Mario Kart World. So this one is going to be their big seller because literally everybody that owns I mean, maybe not literally, but like 99% of people that own a Switch, they own Mario Kart. It's like the biggest selling game for that system. Absolutely no questions asked. It's the biggest seller for that system.
So most people are going to buy the 491 rather than the 450.
Most people are going to buy the 499 one, which is another 50 bones and you get Mario Kart World. And I think that bundle is also fine. 50 bones, you get a game. Seems okay. No real big issues. One thing that I would like, at least put the fucking cartridge in there. I hate the fact that like they will sell consoles with games. And it's like, it's a code. You put the code in and you get the game. It's like, no, bro, I want the physical thing.
Yeah,
put the
I did pay extra
for
for this. Yeah.
Put the box in there. Like, come on, man. What's in the box? Nothing's in the disappointment is what's in the box. A fucking piece of paper with a code. But anyway, I think the $4.99 is going to be the big money winner. It's going to be the big pack that everybody's going to want to get. It comes with the game. Fun times for the whole family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Then we have the prices of actual Mario Kart World separately, which is $80.
Yes.
For the digital version and $90 for the physical version.
Yeah.
Now, what does this tell you? It tells you that Nintendo is also looking to exit the physical media market. At least that's what it's telling me. If you're charging people an extra $10 for the physical version of your game, like you're looking, you want an out. You're just like, yep, we're out. We're leaving. Goodbye. See you, kid. Rip Bozo.
There's more to it actually than just that. So here's what I didn't even know this because at the time I would have been way too young. But yesterday I saw a post from someone, Remy, I think on X, that broke this down and explained the issue with Nintendo's new price point of $79 is that most people don't remember how we got to $60 for a game. You see, back in the 90s, when the price for a normal game was $40, it was $39.99 for most games, Nintendo was the company that said, no, we'll do $59.99. We'll do $60 per game. Within the next year, every AAA had increased their price from $39.99 to $59.99 because that was the new price point. That was when they saw that people were willing to buy $59.99. They were like, great, let's go. The gaming industry, we already know, has been looking for another anchor because they want to go higher. This gives them the perfect opportunity. And when GTA comes out and it launches for $89.99 or $99.99, that will become the next price point. The games will then just suddenly become $9.99. So it's not just that, yes, they want to exit the physical space. That's why they're making physical games more expensive. You will note, by the way, that is unique. Most gaming companies, when they still do physical sales, the physical box costs the same as the digital one. They just charge you $60 or 60 pounds for the game. Not Nintendo. So they're clearly trying to disincentivize people from buying the physical edition, pick up the digital edition so we can get to really printing the cash. Because at least with a $60 or a physical game, there's some effort that has to go into the artwork, some effort has to go into the boxing, the actual cartridges. There's some money involved there. But if I can just sell you the code for 80 buckaroos, I'm saving on all this other shit, so I'm making way more profit than what I would have made previously. And I guarantee you, the AAA industry is on this. The next games we see from the AAA industry will be hitched at $80.
Like, listen, the moment Nintendo did this, I want everybody to understand. The moment Nintendo did this, everybody at Sony, everybody at Microsoft, everybody at Ubisoft.
Dude, Eve's got a semi.
EA.
Eve's got a semi.
Everybody, yeah. everybody at Activision went like this.
Let's
Oh, yeah, buddy. That's my man, Miyamoto. Always loved them.
Yeah.
My man. They're just like over there like, Nintendo, always loved you, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go, baby. Gotta get those numbers up.
Yep.
Line goes up, baby.
Yeah.
Everybody is losing their collective minds in celebration. Like, I guarantee, like the android Wilson went home, banged his wife. Straight up.
Dude,
the moment that happened, he's like, honey, listen, I am diamond hard, baby. I am so, ooh, baby.
Dude,
I'm gonna,
not just his wife, his secretary probably got it as well.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's like, listen.
There was an orgy in the C-suite.
And
Yeah.
Andrew Wilson was going like, baby, I'm going to make love to you like we never have.
Yeah.
A combined total of 15 seconds. But it's going to be so good.
Dude,
My man can't last, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
it's if you are affected by that problem, don't worry. Lots of men are. But it is fundamentally, it is just one of those things.
God.
The gaming industry is constantly looking for what they call price anchors. When a big game comes around and it anchors the price at a higher level, they'll follow. Because once the audience accepts the new anchor as a reasonable anchor, everyone can now be at that anchor. And we know that they want to get there. Now, I am actually about to surprise you. This is a good thing. This is great.
Because it's going too high and you think people are going to cut it off?
Not quite, but to some extent,
Okay.
yes. At $60, even an okay game is justifiable. I had a good amount of fun, about 10, 15 hours. It wasn't too bad. At $70, you start to get into a question of the game needs to be at least somewhat good. It's $80 or $70 is an investment. Once you get to $80, $90, even $100, unless that game absolutely blows you away, the investment in that game becomes a challenging investment. It becomes a question of, wait, that's a lot of money that I'm investing in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Do I actually even think this game is worth that money? And this is where I think Nintendo they did us a favor. Because EA, I guarantee you, if the next Battlefield that comes out, that's going to be $80 if not 90. That game is probably going to kill itself because of the fact that it is priced that high. Because unless it can blow people away, people are going to look at that and go, man, it looks good, but I don't want to spend $90 on that game when I can buy 3 or 4 indie games for that same price. Yeah, I can buy so many better games for the exact same price. This is too high for me. Because remember, as prices go up, the investment or the sentiment goes up as well. Right? I need to be convinced that I should be spending this money. So yeah, that's why I think it might be a good thing.
So the thing here is, there's also another game that is coming out, which is the Donkey Kong Bonanza one. That one is apparently cheaper. That one's $69.79. So $69 for the digital version, $79 for the physical version. Now, the one thing that I will say, and this is something that I think that a lot of people don't realize, is that we are being manipulated through FOMO, and it's easy to see. Like we've always been manipulated through FOMO in multiple different video games and so on and so forth. Everybody knows about FOMO, but not enough people really pay attention to it. And I want people to understand something that I think that a lot of people don't understand. And that is, I am going to buy whatever video game I need to buy at whatever price I feel is justifiable to continue doing content on YouTube, because that's my job.
Yeah.
On a personal level, and people won't believe this, that's the interesting part, but I guarantee to you this is the truth. On a personal level, if I wasn't doing content, there is no way in hell I would ever buy a Mario Kart game for $90 or $80.
Yeah.
You're insane.
I'm the same.
As a matter of fact, I've been telling you guys that like I've been amassing this small collection of games on the Switch.
Yeah.
Most of those games, the physical games that I own, were bought at deep discounts. Like some of them as low as $30.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I would go as high as $50 because I couldn't be able to find them any cheaper than that.
Yeah.
But all of them retailed at $70. And I'm picking them up as low as like 50, 30, sometimes 20, depending on the game.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what I do on a personal level. That is actually the way that I buy video games. Same thing on Steam. There's a game that I'm interested in, I'm going to wait for like a fucking deep discount unless I needed to pick that game up for coverage. That's the way that it works.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people will come up to like content creators and be like, yeah, it's your fault. You're supporting us. Like, no, bro. I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
I cover video games, okay? That's why I buy these games, so that I can cover and show them to you, so that you can see whether or not you want to spend the money. That's my job. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your fucking money.
Yeah.
You want to buy games at $90? You go right ahead and you do that. That is your prerogative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to advise against it. I don't think you should.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, go do it. Now, the one thing that I will say that you shouldn't do and that I will criticize you for is for defending the practice.
Yeah.
That you should, it's indefensible. Like the whole thing. Oh yeah. And like you were talking about the post that I quote tweeted earlier today, bro. It's like, yeah, with the inflation, like think about what games costed back in the day. Like, look, they've been costing $60 so long. It's like, yeah, motherfucker. And somebody working at McDonald's could buy a fucking house back then. Huh. Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, I mean...
Isn't that funny? You used to be able to work at McDonald's and buy a fucking house. Guess what? You work at McDonald's now, you can't even afford a fucking one-bedroom apartment. Not even one bedroom, like the studio apartment, whatever the fuck they call it, where there's a toilet next to the kitchen sink.
Well, it's not just that. It's the fact that, and you do actually say that in your reply to them as well, games have gotten a hell of a lot cheaper to make unless you start chasing bullshit. Right? Because the thing that's currently making games so expensive is everyone wants to go for realistic graphics.
8K textures.
Yeah.
Which Nintendo isn't even doing.
No, they're not even trying
Kart.
to do it. But Sony, an ex-Sony developer, actually came out and said this. He said, the reason our games are so expensive is we're obsessed at Sony with realistic-looking graphics. And it just so happens, surprise, surprise, that shit costs a lot of money because along with realistic graphics comes motion capture of the actor that is in it, as well as facial capture, which is mega expensive. These machines, these contraptions, cost millions of dollars to build. They're so expensive to use per hour because most studios can't afford to have them, so they go to specialized studios to do per hour, record every angle and do all of this stuff. Every voice line has to be recorded in this because they have to get it so realistically done. And the question is that actually adding to the game? Are you actually making the game the millions dollars more better that you're actually paying for this bullshit? But if we're just talking about actual physical game design, it has become a hell of a lot cheaper to make games today than what it was 20 or 30 years.
There's better game development tools. And the other thing that people don't bring up, that I also brought up in that post, is the explosive growth of the gaming audience.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so many more people buying games now. It's not even remotely close.
Just in the last decade, we've gone from 2.1 billion overall gamers to now 3.4 billion gamers in the world, right? If you go back to the 1990s, the number of gamers in the 1990s was under a billion. So you're looking about almost 2.5, soon 3 billion more gamers in the world buying video games. I used to remember a day, and if you guys don't believe me, go on Steam charts and look, for example, at Witcher 3's peak player count.
It's not even that much.
Yeah, it's like 90,000, I think. And that, at the time, was considered mega good for a game. If a game could get to like 90,000 concurrent players, we considered that great. Today, for a AAA title, that's failure. You couldn't even break 200,000. That's a failure. Look at the games today. You have games that's going, average games go 600, 700, 900,000 players. When I say average, I'm not talking about the game is average. I mean, on average, your good games are going to 700, 800, 900,000 concurrent players. Some of them even break the million mark. So clearly, gaming numbers, the amount of gamers buying games, have exploded exponentially from where we used to be. So if you still charge $60, and dude, it's proven. Larian Studios made absolute bank, selling Baldur's Gate at $60. CD Projekt Red made bank selling Cyberpunk 2077 at $60. They even gave you a bunch of goodies with your $60 purchase because they could afford to. If you bought the physical version of Cyberpunk, you got like a keychain and you got like a bunch of cool sticker books and stuff, because they said, even like, including all of that, they still make a profit off of the physical sale at $60.
I bought like whatever special physical edition came out of Witcher 3 for the Switch, just because I wanted to support that business practice.
Yeah.
And I bought it for like, I think $50, and had a bunch of shit on there. It had like, had the game, had like a keychain or something, had like some cutouts, had a manual, had all of these things. I was like, bro, $50.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? An amazing game and all of these things. I've never even played the fucking game on the Switch.
I own Witcher.
I just want to give them money.
I own Witcher 1, 2, and 3 on like 4 different platforms, so not 2 different platforms. I'm lying. I own it on the GOG Gaming, and I own it on Steam. Because again, like you, I want to support good developers. But fundamentally, that argument doesn't fly. The argument that, inflation, it's so much cheaper. No, they're making so much more money now than what they could have. Dude, oh man, I wish people would just go back and look at what used to be celebrated. There was a time where the biggest game in the world managed to sell 3.5 million copies in the first 3 days. And that was considered, whoa, like, holy shit. That usually only happens in like the first 6 months or so of a game.
That's actually still pretty good. 3 million in 3 days. That's still pretty good.
That's not even close to the record, though. The record now is held by, I think, Cyberpunk with over 8 or 9 million in the first 3 days, right? And
that can't be the record because Shadowlands beat them.
Yeah, Shadowlands.
Or was it the other way around?
No. They beat Shadowlands.
Shadowlands and then they beat Shadowlands. All right.
Cyberpunk beat Shadowlands. But then you look.
I remember that it was funny because one of them broke the record, and then the other one came immediately
broke
after.
The record immediately after that. But then you have, for example, Diablo 4 also broke a bunch of day one records. You have Monster Hunter.
Broke my heart.
Yeah, obviously, mine too. But Monster Hunter sold 8 million in the first week. Or something like that.
First 3 days.
Or the first 3 days, 8 million.
First 3 days.
That was an unthinkable. Back in the day, if your game sold 1 million copies in like the first month, you were doing well. Like you had a good month. Like that was a good month. Sure, 3 million was on the table, but that was usually reserved for the best of the best games. Now this is almost expected. If you have a AAA game, if you can't at least shift 3 million copies in the first week, the hell did you make? Like, why did you fail at making a video game? So clearly the numbers are well and truly at the point where $60 would still be more than enough for you. But we're now at $80, and by the way, if not $90 in the future.
When it comes to Nintendo, the other thing that I said is that they could literally sell that game at $30 and still make an obscene profit.
Oh yeah,
they could literally just sell that game at $30 and make obscene amounts of money.
Oh yeah,
actually obscene amounts of money. They're gonna sell it at 80 and 90 because they fucking can. It's literally that simple. Because they can, because people will buy it. It's just that simple.
Well,
it's like, because we can do this, we will do
I need people to understand something. When you have AAA games that go on sale after a month or 2 or 3 or 4, or maybe 6 months, most wait about 6 months, it goes on sale for like half price. Do you truly believe they're selling the game at a loss? No. Because they know, even though they charged $70 at launch, they know that the game, even at $35, would still have made them a lot of money. Probably more, because the cheaper the game, the more people are willing to buy. I will not be willing to buy Assassin's Creed Shadows at 70. I will not buy that game. But at 35, I might give it a go. It's just 35 buckaroos. It's not the end of the world if it sucks. Sure, but it's just $35. At 70, if it sucks, I just lost $70. I could have used that on better games. Right? So fundamentally, by making it cheaper, you may actually end up selling more copies and making way more money than what you would make at 70. The new price point of 80, that's going to be even harder for a lot of the AAA industry. And we'll talk about, the whole problematic gaming industry in a second, because I have a review coming up for you guys about a new game that I've been playing. But before we do that, are you done with everything you wanted to say about Nintendo?
Yeah. I'm good. At the end of the day, my conclusion is I still like the console. I'm interested in that console, and also because I have a big backlog. The thing that pisses me off though is like them charging me $10 for the updated versions of the game. Like I should just listen. I have the console. Give me the better performance. It's just that easy. I already paid the $400 for the better performance. I have an existing catalog. Give me those fucking upgrades. The fact that they're charging for those, I think, is the thing that annoys me the most. And I would remind people, once again, you don't have to buy video games at release. You don't even have to buy consoles at release. Unless you're doing this for a living.
I'll say this.
You don't need this.
I'll say this, and I know present company included will not be too happy with hearing this, but I think Rurikon will also understand. There's a reason why I haven't bought Monster Hunter Wilds yet. I am waiting for it to go on special. And the reason for it is it's not my premier type of game, right? I do want to play it because it looks fun, but it's not really the kind of game that I'm known for playing or that I am going to play day one. Like Rurikon is about to live stream during the middle of the night to play the Title 1 update. I'll never do that for Monster Hunter, right? So for me, buying Monster Hunter at $70 doesn't make sense. Because I do want to play the game, but I can wait.
And reasonable take.
I can wait for the game to go on sale and then play it and have a ton of fun, playing it. Because I did play the beta and it was a lot of fun, but it's not my main type of content. And I do this for a lot of games. The only games where I make that massive investment right from the start are story games. If it's an RPG and it has massive story to it, then yes, right? So when Witcher 4 comes out, I'll absolutely make that investment day one. Because that's my kind of games. And I don't think Rurikon would. I think if Witcher 4 comes out, Rurikon would probably be, unless he wants to make a review on it, will also be like, dude, I might play this, but I don't want to play it at full price.
4, I want to see if the combat's significantly improved from Witcher 3. And that I might jump in earlier.
Yeah, but imagine if the combat is sort of similar to Witcher 3. You might just go, I'll support this at half price.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy this at full because it's not my type of game. So, and that's not to say that the game is bad. Monster Hunter Wilds, by every account, is an amazing game. But I can wait because I have other things that I'm playing currently. I don't care to play this game right now.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely a good thing. And as a matter of fact, I think that is something that people should consider with a lot of these Nintendo games that are coming up. Like, if I want to cover them in the channel, I will pay whatever price needs to be paid, assuming that it is
it's not even that I will. It's that I have to. If it's my job to cover the game, I have to pay the money in order to cover the game.
But to give people an idea on a personal note, if I wasn't doing content, like I'm not in any rush. I have enough games to tide me over for the next 10 years. There's no rush.
Most of my games have never even been installed because I'm busy playing other things. So I have so many games that I can play. It's absolutely insane.
That's just it. It's just telling people like, listen, this is a perfect opportunity to speak with your wallet. If you don't like these prices, wait, pick them up later.
Yeah. And by the way, if you think that this won't happen, if none of you ended up buying Mario Kart at launch, if no one bought it, they would drop that price within like a week. Because they want to sell the bloody game, and no one's buying the bloody game.
I'd say a month. But the thing is,
I don't know, because
Mario Kart is going to sell because people are going to buy the bundle.
Yeah, but my point is more, people tend to think that speaking with your wallet doesn't matter. The reason it doesn't matter because you have so many unprincipled people that will just support whatever. But if everyone could band together and say to Nintendo, you know what? No, thank you. At $80, nah, you can keep your game for yourself, fam. They will absolutely be forced to drop the price. They want to ship this game. Remember, the game still, it might not have cost them a lot of money to make, but it did cost them money to make. And they would want to get that money back. So they'll absolutely drop the price to like 70 or 60 in order to get those sales rolling so that they can make the money. The problem is that if we keep supporting it, they'll keep doing it. Because why would I stop doing something if everyone's still supporting me with it? You know, it's just nuts to me. But I get the point that just because I don't buy it, there's still millions of people buying it, so I'm just missing out. The issue is everyone thinks that way, and everyone's supporting the thing that they absolutely hate and that works against them. Hopefully at some point we get to that one price that is just too high. Hopefully we get there within the next 5 or 10 years, where gaming companies get to the point where they charge so much that even the shills are like, sorry, bro. I want to support you. I'll write some interesting stuff about you on X, but I will not be buying the game. You know, hopefully we get there. But all right, I'm not going to do like Rurikon did, your final verdict on Nintendo. I don't own Nintendo products. From my perspective, it looked interesting. I can see why a lot of Nintendo fans would be really excited for it. But I personally, if Nintendo didn't exist as a company, I would literally, nothing in my life would change. So I have no dog in the race, or a horse in the race, if you will. Speaking of a horse in the race that I don't have, we have to talk about Karl Jobst, or Jobst, or I don't even know how to pronounce his surname. Now, just to get you guys a little bit up to speed, because I don't think we're going to be spending too much time on this, but Karl Jobst made a video, an entire video series about Billy Mitchell, who is the self-proclaimed world record or best gamer in the world for Donkey Kong, I believe.
King of Kong.
Or King Kong and something else.
No, it's Donkey Kong. I was saying the King of Kong.
Oh, yeah, he's the King of Kong, and it's another game. There's 2 games where he holds world records in. I'm trying to see. I researched this.
No, the game is Donkey Kong. King of Kong is like his nickname.
No. Donkey Kong and Pac-Man. Those are the 2 games that he holds
Donkey Kong
world records in. You know, and then Karl Jobst made this video about Billy Mitchell involving a cheating scandal where Billy Mitchell was caught cheating in some of the Pac-Man stuff, I think. And then a lawsuit followed. Mitchell sued Jobst for defamation. Jobst, on the other hand, did not make that clear to his fans that it was a defamation lawsuit and what the defamation lawsuit was exactly about, right?
Didn't he say that it was a defamation lawsuit? I don't think he said the reason. I don't know. I haven't followed this closely.
The issue is he made it sound like the defamation lawsuit was about the cheating scandal, right? So exactly. Billy Mitchell was saying, I didn't cheat, even though he did cheat. That's what he made it sound like. The issue was that was not what the court case was about. That was never what the court case was about. The court case instead involved Apollo Legend, a YouTuber that was embroiled in a lawsuit with Billy Mitchell around the same similar sort of claims that Jobst made Karl made the accusations that
allegations.
Yeah, well, he accused Billy of this, right?
Okay.
So he said the lawsuit had this. It already contributed to a lot of depression for Apollo Legend, and then the lawsuit happened, and there was a massive money payout, right? So Apollo Legend was forced to pay a massive settlement to Billy Mitchell, and that this led to financial strain and financial struggles, and eventually Apollo Legend deleted himself because of Billy Mitchell. This was why Billy Mitchell sued Karl, not for the cheating allegations, but for saying that in a video. But this is not what Jobst says to his community. And you might say, well, he doesn't owe his community anything. Well, he kind of does, because his community ends up paying for his lawsuit, right? They end up donating a lot of money to this lawsuit because obviously Mitchell cheated, right? And there's a lot of evidence that Mitchell may have cheated. So I won't say he did, but there is evidence of it, right? So enough there that you could probably reasonably say, look, with all the reasonable evidence, it's not defamation for me to jump to the conclusion that you cheated. The issue was that claim could not be supported, but Jobst continues to tell his audience, no, it's for the cheating stuff. The case then goes on the 31st March 2025. The judge, Ken Barlow, rules in favor of Billy Mitchell because he found Billy Mitchell to be a credible witness. Because Billy Mitchell, on the stand, says there was no monetary thing in the lawsuit against Apollo Legend. Apollo Legend didn't have to pay him anything. What he wanted Apollo Legend to do was to remove his defamatory content. He did. He removed the videos, and that was the end of the discussion. No money, nothing paid. That's all he wanted. The case now says that Jobst has to pay Mitchell 350,000 Australian dollars. That's about 237,000 US dollars, plus interest as well as the legal fees for Mitchell. This is insane, right? Because
yep.
Jobst has effectively been caught lying to his community, and a lot of the people in his community is baffled by this.
Because the thing is, Jobst has kind of like made his whole thing to go after cheaters and basically somebody in the community who is respected based on the quality of his character.
Yeah.
And whether he intentionally lied or misrepresented the situation, whatever happened with that, it's like, yeah, you're kind of fucked now, because a big thing about what people liked about you is the integrity of your content. I mean, I even reacted to one of his videos recently because it involved Monster Hunter cheating. And so, it's like, that's just something that is going to be almost impossible for you to ever get back from your community. This is something that I'm very careful about. Even sometimes when I feel like, oh, I'm not going to be able to put out as much content, I give people a warning. Hey, listen, if you want to let your sub lapse or something like that, like, don't ever feel guilty, blah, blah, blah. Just basically tell people it's okay to stop giving me money.
Yeah.
Like, just stop, just, and whatever. And because I take it very seriously whenever people do give you money, because it's, they're giving you money, there's certain expectation.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're leading people on and saying, yeah, I'm getting sued because of this, I need money to help me with this trial, and people are like, okay, I'll give you some of my hard-earned money so that you can go fight this. And then it comes out, it's like, wait a minute, you're not getting sued for what you were saying at all.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? Yeah, that's messed up. And
and specifically in this particular case, it was, I think, Mitchell even said it. At least that's some of the allegations I've heard. Mitchell wanted Jobst to just remove his video where he accuses him of being responsible for the death of Apollo Legend. And Jobst refused. And so that's why this lawsuit ultimately ended in a lawsuit. So the lawsuit, from some of the sources I've seen, so this is allegedly, but the lawsuit could have been entirely avoided had he just said, okay, dude, sure, I don't have evidence to really tie you to Apollo Legends video, because even in Apollo Legends' final video, he never even mentions Mitchell, right? He never even speaks about Billy Mitchell as, the reason for his depression or the reason for everything. So it is kind of awkward and weird. Now, Jobst did respond shortly after the ruling, said, I lost. The judge found Billy to be a credible witness and believed his entire testimony, which is a little bit disingenuous because this sort of suggests that there were parts of Billy's testimony that wasn't supposed to be believed. But then from that point on, unfortunately, there was really nothing that could have saved me. And then he says, and this I would actually say is at least somewhat good guy, I guess. He did say that he will spend the next few months working very hard to repay everyone for their GoFundMe contributions. So he will repay those funds to people. It's going to be hard,
Hey, at
though.
least that's something.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, though, because he owes over 600,000 Australian dollars in legal fees and costs and everything. And then the 55,000 Australian dollars that people donated through GoFundMe for the lawsuit. So that's a big bag of cash. And I think the one
That's a lot of moolah.
The one thing that this is probably going to have to start enforcing is specifically the YouTubers that go after this sort of gotcha content. You know, like what Jobst is involved in. The character profiles that YouTubers like to make. Because I think for a long time, YouTubers sort of operated under this thing of, I can say whatever I want. I'm just a dude in my bedroom making video content, right? And this now shows, no, you can't just say whatever you want. There are legal issues that might arise.
There's rules, yeah.
So it might actually spawn a lot of people who get off on this sort of, I guess we could say, targeting content to stop doing it. Just because the dangers... Because usually, guys, with exposés and stuff, because that's usually... It's a type of expose content. If journalists are going to do exposés, the expose is written, it then goes through legal. They have actual lawyers going through that and going, wait, do you have evidence for this claim? That's a big claim. We could get in serious trouble for this. And unless you as the lawyer unless you as the journalist can show that lawyer, bro, receipts, they're going to be like, yeah, let's remove this bit.
Let's remove that part.
Yeah, let's just remove that part. You might say it might sound good, but this could get us in trouble. You don't have the evidence for it. So yeah, there's a lot to this, and there's obviously, a lot that's going to come out of this. Hopefully there's a betterment of the industry, but I think all YouTubers need to learn to use the word allegedly a lot more, because allegedly can get you out of a lot of this trouble. I should just say this because I saw another lawyer actually respond to this. The word allegedly does not get you out of trouble if you obviously use the word simply to get yourself out of trouble, but you do make it sound as if everything you say is actually true. Then a judge can actually go,
allegedly, in a video game.
Yeah. But the judge can actually go, wait, you clearly didn't actually mean allegedly. Because everything else you present is fact. You just keep saying allegedly to sort of, excuse yourself from any legal
It's
problem.
not a get out of jail free card.
Yeah. But okay, so that's the full story. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add to it before we get to the final story of the day?
I'm good. I've barely even looked into that one, so.
Yeah. But okay, so final story of the day is a bit of a review. I'm going to keep this as short as possible. But I'm doing this because I think this is a game that all of you should play. It is mega fun. It's quite cheap as well. It's really not expensive game. The game is called Schedule 1. Yeah?
How can you as a Christian endorse such a product? I can't believe you.
It's a video game, bro. Like, I mean, come on. It's a video game. So I don't even know what the religious implications of this would be, to be quite frank and honest with you.
It's the devil's lettuce.
Yeah, but what's fun about the game is it is mostly a game about logistics. You're setting up logistical avenues and you're basically a drug dealer. That's what Schedule 1 is. You're a drug dealer. There's a little bit of a story, but mainly just the story to get you going. But you're running around buying kush seeds, planting it, snipping it, and then mixing it with a bunch of other stuff. So you can mix some serious drugs. You take mouthwash and you take paracetamol and Viagra, motor oil, and Coca-Cola, and you mix all of that along with your kush, and you make...
I always cut my Viagra with motor oil.
Yeah.
It gets the engine going.
But you do all of these things, right? And it creates these different strains of kush, of weed. And depending on what you build, you can make them more or less addictive. More addictive obviously means more return profits, more return customers. But there is a downside to it. The downside is that if you go too big, the druggie starts showing up at your place of business and trying to break into your business and steal your shit because they want to get their hands on your drugs. So then you have to get like henchmen and you have to get guns in order to get the druggies away. You have the cops that you have to deal with and run away from because they don't like the drug dealers, obviously. So it's a really fun game. And the reason I want people to support it, the game is currently doing insanely well on Steam. It's like the second biggest game on Steam, just behind Monster Hunter Wilds, with like over 400,000 people concurrently playing it, at least during peak. So the game is doing super well, but it was made by one dude. Just one guy that put this game together, made it really well done. He's been in my chat a couple of times, hanging out while we play the game. And the game is in early access, so he's still fixing a bunch of the stuff, trying to set up the rebalance stuff and so on and so forth. But it's just, what's beautiful to me is just another example of what can happen if you just make a good game. You know, all these stories about the gaming industry is in such a difficult place right now, and it's so hard to make video games right now. And then like, bro, what are you talking about? Here's a game about a drug dealer that is absolutely selling through the roof. It's clearly not that hard to make good video games. You just need to make a game that you actually care about. You know, and a game that you actually
good
like.
Good video games are breaking through.
Yeah.
They're breaking through the noise.
In all this more difficult than ever period in the gaming industry, it's funny how all the good games keep selling millions of copies. I don't know what they're doing. Did they not get the memo that it's the hardest time ever for the video game industry?
I mean, it still is a hard time in the industry, absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you focus more on making a good game and less on how to monetize it and fleece your customers, people will buy your game.
Or being political with everything. I think it's a hard time to be in the video game industry because there's so much competition now, which used to not exist. It used to be the AAA guys made their games, and that was pretty much what we waited for. You know, like you'd get 4, maybe 5 games a year. The rest were sort of nonsense. Who cares? But at least these 4 or 5 games were big, and we would play that. That's no longer true. You know, now pretty much every week there's a massive game launching, whether it be indie, AA, AAA. There's always new games coming. I mean, we have in the next 2 days, we have, when is Doom launching? Doom is launching soon. Doom Dark Ages is launching soon. You have another Commandos Origins that is launching, I think, on the 5th. Like, games are just coming from everywhere now. So it does make it harder, obviously, because you have to compete with all of these games. But I think fundamentally, we still see good games break through. We still see that happen. So yeah, I think games media needs to shut the hell up. Stops excusing the failures of the AAA industry. They're failing because of their own incompetence, not because the games industry is hard. But that's it. That's it for the show. We were supposed to do a short show, and we did 3 hours. This is wonderful.
See, now I have to go work out, and I'm going to be late for lunch. This is your fault. Well, technically my fault, but also your fault.
Well, technically your fault only, because I wasn't even supposed to do this today. We were supposed to do this tomorrow. You're not even going to
share the blame with me? Not even going to share the blame with me?
I was sleeping, bro.
Okay, no, that's fine.
No, but to be fair, there is some blame on me as well, because if I answered the phone when Rurikon phoned, originally, we would probably have been done by now. So, to some extent, definitely my fault as well. But I was sleeping, so I hope you'll excuse me. I was playing Schedule 1 for way too long.
Get a nice sleep.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to go working. So now it's more streaming and more videos and all the rest of it. That's life.
I'm going to have to wake up at 3 a.m, bro. Okay?
Hey, that's self-inflicted, man. Like, you don't have to. You can wake up at 7 and stop playing. You just want to.
Before you even said those words,
yeah,
my brain thought them. They were like, that's so self-inflicted, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
It's true.
You could legitimately wake up at 6, take your kids to school, and then get on and start playing, right? But no, you want to play at 3 a.m. That's your problem.
Yes.
But okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and Rurikon for another episode of the Mythic Banter. And we will see all of you, hopefully, in the next one. Peace.